spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport,
Paranormal Edition.
the thrill of victory,
Bigfoot.
and the agony of defeat.
The Loch Ness Monster.
The human drama of athletic competition.
And UFOs.
This is ABC's Wide World of Sport.
Paranormal Almanac.
Brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. Nobody has more kinds of cars or more kinds of people. See them at the sign of the cat. By Goodyear, makers of the custom Steel Guard radial tire. And by State Farm Mutual. Almost anywhere you live, there's a State Farm agent nearby. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
300th. That's right. I'm your host, Curt Sandvik, and on this week's edition of Paranormal Almanac, it's the 300th episode, part 2. That's right. All right. Thank you, Rum. I love you too. Go ahead. Hop down. That's right. We're back. Since this is part 2, we're just going to jump right in. But before I do, I want to warn you all, since I didn't get any sponsors after part 1, and I gave them some time. Yeah, I know I told you all, part 1 would be out in like 3 days. Well, the reason it wasn't out in 3 days was nobody was finishing the episode in time. I mean, like I had like 2% completion on that episode. So I didn't want to put out part 2 while part 1 was still being listened to. And then it got to be till today, and I was like, all right, forget it. I don't care. People can listen to part 1 and part 2 in any order, however long it takes them to get through what will probably be close to 10 hours worth of an episode. But part 2 is coming out. But like I said, I figured since I couldn't get any sponsors after part 1, I thought maybe somebody would step up and be like, hey, kid, here's $1 million. Not really. I figured I'm going to add my own sponsors. That's right. Don't skip the commercials because, well, I added them myself. I hope you like the new intro music. That'll give you just a taste of what's in store for the commercials. But, okay, where did I leave off? Oh, yeah. Whoa. What the hell was that? Loud noise from the kitchen. Gunshot. You missed me. It's gonna be a controversial episode. People are shooting at me already. You probably didn't even hear that noise. Now I just sound like a crazy person. Okay, where did I leave off? I'm not gonna do any shout outs because this is part 2 of the 300th episode. I did all the shout outs already. And you know what else I'm not gonna do? Paranormal news. Well, there'll be some sprinkled in, but I mean a big chunk of paranormal news at the beginning won't be happening. So it's going to be a little bit different, but that's cool, right? Hopefully you guys are all saying yes. So the only paranormal news that I have is finally Age of Disclosure is going to be released, and we have a date. And if you don't know what Age of Disclosure is, I talked about it, oh my God, forever ago. Age of Disclosure is a much-anticipated UFO documentary. And the trailer racked up over 20 million views. And it's going to be released in theaters and on streaming the same day, November 21st. My hope is they're going to have some kind of premiere or some kind of press event for it, because it's going to be released on November 21st for a theatrical run in New York, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. And I really hope I can go. And I really hope I can interview some of the people that, again, based only on the trailer, made one of the best trailers or best movies, documentaries about UFOs that I've ever seen, just based on the trailer alone. So my hope is, knock on wood, and I'm going to try really hard, I'm going to go to this, and then I'll tell you all about it, or I'll get some interviews, and I will play it on a future episode. But that's it for paranormal news for the moment. Okay, so since this is a part 2, where did part 1 leave off? Oh, yeah, people banging ghosts. Well, I'm done with that topic for the 300th, so you don't have to worry. So where do I go from there? Well, how about where we all go from here? Segue? You liked it? I'm talking about death, people. Yay. Now, some of you have said that I have a weird fascination with death. And I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But I also love that every year, more and more scientific studies are kind of, confirming death isn't real or death isn't the end. That's the stuff that gets me going. I don't care about just, stories about death. I tried before to do like a true crime kind of an episode, and I just can't get my head around how to do that. Make it entertaining, knowing that real people are dying, that have died. And yes, I know that I talk about the Villisca axe murder house, and people died, but I'm talking about current news, people being brutally murdered, and then make it interesting. I can't do that. I wish I could. Look, I give all the props in the world to my favorite murder. They do it, and they do it so well. But that's just not my style. So this is more my style. I'm going to talk about a scientific study about death to start off this episode. So quantum physics data suggests that death may not be the end. Big shocker there. An emerging theory that is rooted in quantum physics suggests that death may be an illusion shaped by our perception. Ooh, it even has magic tricks, illusions. This theory has everything. All right, basically, it is saying that observers influence reality. So, if we change the way that we view death, or even reality, we can change the way that we actually view it, and it's scientifically backed. So you can kind of take this, and I think I'll talk about it in a second in this outline. You can kind of take this along like a glitch in the matrix kind of a way of things. There are a lot of people that think that, not science, but a lot of people think that if you change the way you view your reality, you can change your reality. You can manifest stuff. And trust me, I've been working really hard on doing that. In fact, you know what? Nico Scher, the mouse, and Steven Scher, they both gave me suggestions for ways to manifest something for myself. And I've been really kind of focusing hard on the manifesting stuff. The thing being, getting a house for Rum and myself, like I've been talking about, or winning the lotto so I can actually independently do this show and focus just on this show. And I really have been focusing and listening to a lot of podcasts and a lot of YouTube videos about how to try to change my own reality or to focus my reality on the things that I want. But for this one, how do you change your reality, is something called biocentrism. And it proposes that life and consciousness are central to the universe's fabric, which is new for me. I did not know this. So basically, space and time are not fixed entities, but tools our mind used to interpret the world. And again, this isn't a new theory. Einstein had it. Tesla had it. Hell, Tesla swore if you can find the frequency, you can control reality. If time is merely a construct, if you will, when a person, focuses on that construct, death may not truly exist. And when that person dies, as we know, they become part of the many worlds or the multiverse. They even get every timeline from beginning to end. And again, it's not a new theory, but biocentrism is saying just that, time is a construct, and that it's now a multiverse kind of a construct, and you get everything, every timeline from beginning to end. Now, there was something, I did an episode a long, long time ago, and I forgot to research or go back to it. It was a guy that basically said that he had access to the Book of Life. And again, it was through kind of like, if I remember correctly, like an astral projection or, like some kind of manifesting, or maybe even it was... it might have been the pineal gland episode, but this guy said that he had the Book of Life. He saw everything in this book from the beginning to the end. And he theorized that's how like Nostradamus did the stuff that he did, or how a lot of the really well-known prognosticators, that's how they do that. They have access to this Book of Life. This scientific study, biocentrism, is saying the exact same thing. that when a person dies as we know it, they become part of the many worlds or the multiverse. They get every timeline from beginning to end, which, again, all of this sounds cool, but when I went down this rabbit hole, and of course, yeah, it got weird really quickly. Like, it depends on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole and which one of the rabbit holes you want to go down. You want to go down the rabbit hole that says if you want to access it now, you need massive amounts of psychotropic drugs, because there's a rabbit hole that says that if you do enough of the correct drugs in the correct sequences, you get access to everything from the beginning to end. But I couldn't find anybody that could prove to me that they did it. There's a lot of people that said, oh, yeah, I've seen the Book of Life. Cool. Tell me about it. How did you get it? What does it look like? Can anybody corroborate it? Can you get to it right now? If so, you should be able to tell me everything about my past and my future then. But, no one ever has that kind of evidence. So grain of salt that. Anyhow, the theory suggests, consider the weather outside. This is the theory, by the way. I'm going to read you the theory. You see a blue sky, but the cells in your brain could be changed so that the sky looks green or red and then it says pick a color. So I'm going to pick plaid. Okay, there. Here comes the weird, though. In this theory, it says, in fact, with a little genetic engineering, we could probably make everything that is red vibrate or make a noise or even make you want to have sex like with some birds. Curt here, full stop. If you want this peer-reviewed, leave your weird fucking big bird fetish out of it, please, science. That's what made me go, am I going to add this to an episode? Like, up until that point, I was like, yeah, I can get what you're saying. It's very cool. It's very, 60s thinking outside your own brain. And then out of nowhere, it's like, maybe you want to have some sex like with some birds. I can do that. We can do that. Biocentrism. Think about it. Sex with birds. Okay. Took a huge step back out of it. Grain of salt the rest of it. So, biocentrism. It states that everything we see is just perceived info in our brains. Yep, I agree with that part. Energy always exists. Yep, I agree completely with that. There is a ton of evidence that says energy always exists. We are energy. That is a fact. That is a scientific fact. So again, cool, I'm with you. So when the body dies, the brain energy just goes on somewhere else. Yep, love it. It says, wave your hand through the air. If you take everything away, what's left? The answer is nothing. Okay, it's a little bit kung fu for me if you know that 70s TV show, but okay. The same thing applies for time. Space and time are simply the tools for putting everything together. Death doesn't exist in a timeless, spaceless world. Immortality doesn't mean a perpetual existence in time, but that it resides outside of time altogether. All right, cool. I guess I can kind of get where you're going with that. It's, wrinkling my brain, but sure, I can get what you mean by that. And they are right. Time is a construct. That's been proven. I wish there was a way that could get me around it, but it seems pretty damn linear to me. But again, I've not tried biocentrism. Maybe it isn't linear and I can get around it. But if you go down this rabbit hole, it actually connects with ghost encounters. And that's what made me go, yep, this is definitely going on the episode. It says that either energy is stored and played on a loop, is coming through from a different time. Yep, I get it. Or a different timeline. And maybe that's what we're seeing. Ghosts are that energy. And that could explain why sometimes it's a singular ghost sighting or just like a random ghost sighting. And until we can scientifically connect what is causing that energy to bleed through or happen at that time that you see the ghost, what we consider random may in fact have a scientific explanation. I have always said science will explain the paranormal one day, and this seems like it's a step in that direction. So, yeah, to keep it at, just the highlights, it is a very cool theory. that explains not only death, but the universe or universes, and maybe even the paranormal. And I thought, that is cool. That's the kind of stuff I want to go down, that rabbit hole. Okay, we'll be right back after these messages.
Saturday.
The booking charge is murder one, no bail.
Jim Brown hits the streets to save his daughter. The season premiere of T.J. Hooker, Saturday at 8, 7 Central.
I got to say, I don't care if you guys aren't enjoying these or won't enjoy these commercials. I already enjoy it. Okay, with science and ghosts being brought up, I want to talk about a haunted location and how science was used to see if the haunting was real. Well, kind of. They used science to try and disprove the haunting, basically. And, well, let's find out together if it was real or faked. For this one, we go to the North Welsh countryside, to the small village of Pennyford, with 2 D's and 2 F's, just to make it weird, I guess, to the early 1990s. All right, so the Gower family, they move into their own new to them 15th or 17th century farmhouse, depending on where you get your information. Basically, it's an old-ass house. They move into an old-ass house. It's new for them. They're ecstatic that finally they get to have a house of their own. So David Gower, who is a headmaster and a chemistry teacher, along with his wife Rosemary and their children, they, like I say, purchase this Pennyford with 2 F's and 2 D's farmhouse. They start cleaning up the house and the yard, and that's when they came across something weird leaning against the house. It was a gravestone with the words Jane Jones, 1778. That name will come up again. It was engraved on it, and they move it while cleaning the area, and they think that's what probably started the paranormal activity, is them moving the gravestone away from the house that was leaning up against the house. Which, sure, probably. You don't want to mess with graves. I've seen poltergeist. You've seen poltergeist. You know how much it scares me. But you're going to leave a really old 1700s gravestone just leaning against your house? Find out where the grave is, people. Find out where Jane Jones is supposed to be buried. Is she buried in your yard? These are important questions that they didn't seem to care about. All they cared about was, well, we got to clean up the yard. Move the gravestone, kids. So they said shortly after moving the gravestone, the house seemed to change. Objects would suddenly move from one place to another. But I'm not talking like, where are my keys? Oh, they're over here now. That's weird. No, I'm talking right in front of them. They would watch objects move from one place to the next. Then they start finding words written on the walls, like the word peace, but it was written in Welsh, which they said none of them knew. Then more strange words started appearing on the walls, kind of like the Debbie Moffat case in my mind. That's the first thing I thought of. You know, shit's moving, words are appearing, this is getting weird, but let's keep going down this rabbit hole, or let's talk about this story. And all sorts of noises were heard throughout the house, they said at all hours of the day. Then, Rosemary Gower says she saw something that, quote, chilled her to the bone. She saw the, quote, sad apparition of a pregnant girl in a white gown wandering the property. She said she did some research and she found out the girl may have been James Jones from the headstone. Remember, I told you she'd come back up. So they think maybe moving her tombstone or headstone pissed her off. But she's not all that's been seen at the house, because David and Rosemary eventually move out of the house, and their daughter Nicolette remained in the house with her husband and infant son. So they kind of passed the house to their daughter and her family. So we cut to one night, Nicolette went to check on her infant son, and as she entered the room, she sees a man in dark monk's robes leaning over the crib. So she freaks out, she runs in, screams, grabs her son, and runs back out. So that's the basics of what happened in this house. Now I'll give some time to the skeptics. Immediately, skeptics claimed that Rosemary concocted the entire story just to get on television, because they did. There were television stories devoted to this family. It kind of became a big, big thing, like almost like an Amityville horror type big thing at the time. And the skeptics immediately said, well, yeah, she made the whole thing up to gain attention. Then you remember those words, the words in Welsh that were painted on the walls or written on the walls? Skeptics also think that Dad David could have been the one to write the mysterious words on the walls because, remember, he's a chemistry teacher. Well, the skeptics check the words to see how it was made, and the words on the wall were nothing more than salt water painted over with silver nitrate, which they said something a local chemist would 100% know how to do. And I was like, all right, well, that's interesting. I'll label this one a grain of salt, but it doesn't explain the dark monk. It doesn't explain why, out of nowhere, this seemingly normal family with no interest in the paranormal would make something up. They didn't become rich and famous. They had their 15 minutes of fame around this paranormal house. And it also doesn't explain how did the skeptics go in there and investigate the words to find out that those words painted on the walls or written on the walls were nothing more than salt water painted over with silver nitrate. So there's a lot of things that made me question the skeptics and immediately think, all right, I'll grain of salt it, but everything I can find says these people had something very weird, very paranormal happening to them, and it seems to be real. There are people, there's like a Reddit page about this site, about this haunted house that say, if you look at the headstone that they showed on the TV show, it looks like a faked headstone, a new headstone, and not something from the 1700s. Yeah, it did, but I also don't think that was the real headstone. I think it was used as like a reenactment. If you ever watched Unsolved Mysteries, guess what? They faked a lot of the reenactments to, get the story across. So I don't know what to think about that one, but it's a weird, neat, fun little rabbit hole if you got a little bit of time to go down, watch on YouTube and check out online to see what you think, to see where you fall. But I want you guys to decide if you want to. You don't have to. If you think that this haunted location is truly haunted or if you think it was truly faked. I don't know.
The name of the game is Connect 4.
Gotcha. 4 cross. One more game.
Object, connect 4 of your checkers in a row while preventing your opponent from doing the same. But look out, your opponent can sneak up on you and win the game.
I won. Where? I can't. Here, diagonally. Pretty sneaky, sis.
Connect 4, the vertical checkers game from Milton Bradley.
That, you have no idea how often in my head, where if someone's like, where? I can't see. I'll go, pretty sneaky, sis. And there's a damn good chance that unless you're, 50 plus, you have zero idea of what pretty sneaky, sis is from. So that commercial has burnt into my brain from 1981. All righty, moving on. No milestone episode would be complete without treasure. I know there was a couple people that hit me up going, 300 didn't have any treasure. I told you it was part 1. There was going to be a part 2. It was already written. I mentioned it in the episode. Don't you worry, folks. There is treasure. Treasure to be abounded. All righty, let's see. Let me get to the first paranormal news of the day. A $25,000 treasure hunt has been launched in the Blue Ridge Mountains. That's right. A $25,000 treasure hunt is now underway in the Blue Ridge Mountains. A Charlotte coin maker stashed a mason jar full of gold coins somewhere on the forest floor near a public hiking trail in the Blue Ridge Mountains. You ready for some clues? Now, this came out October 10th. It just came out. As far as I've found as of today, recording this episode, it has not been found. So you ready for some clues? Get out there, find you some treasure. Clue 1. On day 1, the possible location of the treasure covered a 420-mile wide circle. The area shrinks each day until it's just 1 foot wide on day 21. By Friday, the circle had narrowed to 340 miles. Curt here. I'll be honest. I have no idea what to make of that clue. I was wondering why they chose the odd thing of 420-mile wide circle. Is it pot related? Is it is it a date related? I don't get it. There's got to be some significance to that math. But that's your clue one. If you want it written, want it read again, just hit rewind for a second and there it'll be. Clue number 2. There is a 24/7 webcam focused on the treasure, which updates every 10 minutes. So there's power. There's power there. It's got to be, it's not solar powered. It's updated every 10 minutes. It could be a trail cam, but I don't know. There's something more to it. Clue number 3. There are daily drone photos that show a bird's eye view of the treasure's location. Each day, the drone photo will get higher so treasure hunters can find more details from the landscape. Now, I'm going to click on the Welcome to Countdown Treasure YouTube video that I've been dying to watch that I haven't watched yet because I was waiting for this episode.
Welcome to Countdown Treasure. I have placed $25,000 in gold coins somewhere on the forest floor in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Your job? To find it.
And it does. It shows...
Okay, here's how the treasure hunt works. Clue number 1, the map. On day 1, the circle is 420 miles wide. The treasure is somewhere inside that circle. It shrinks every day until, on day 21, the circle would be just 1 foot. Clue number 2, the webcam. There's a webcam trained on the treasure that updates every 10 minutes, 24/7, day and night. You'll always be able to see the treasure sitting there, right out in the open, just waiting to be found.
And that's countdowntreasure.com. You can go to countdowntreasure.com. All right, I'll continue.
And clue number 3, the drone photos. Premium hunters can get an extra clue, a daily photo taken from a drone above the treasure as it rises higher and higher until, eventually, you'll be able to see details in the landscape that, especially when combined with the shrinking circle in clue number 1, can lead you to the treasure. For every premium hunter that signs up, $10 gets added to a winner-take-all side pod. Sign up on countdowntreasure.com, find the treasure, and the side pod is yours. And that's it. Hit the trails, enjoy fall in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains, and happy hunting.
All right, that's it. So then it says sign up here. And if you click on that, it takes you to countdowntreasure.com/treasure-hunt. And it does have it. It says currently it's only 87 miles. That includes Asheville, Sevierville, Morristown, just south of Johnson City. It is a circle that seems to be shrinking, so maybe there's not more to it than that. Maybe that is all there is to it. But so if you're in the area, you like going out and hiking, it's not going to be out. Like I said, he's got a webcam on there. He's got at least a trail cam on there. It should be fairly easy to access it. And it says the live search area is $26,250 in gold, is sitting on the forest floor somewhere in the circle. It shrinks every morning. The current prize pool, $38,860. Base prize of $26,250 in gold coins plus $10 for every premium sign up. Join the hunt today. And then it shows, if it seems like this is all real, then it shows a 24/7 live feed of the gold coins in a little glass jar type thing on the forest floor. And then it says, join the hunt today. What is treasure hunt? Blah, blah, blah. Join the hunt. Why the Blue Ridge Mountains? We chose this location because it's a place we love and want to help rebuild after Hurricane Helene. That's cool. That's insanely cool. Fall in the Blue Ridge Mountains is a beautiful time of the year. The leaves are changing, the air is crisp, and the mountains are stunning. It is the perfect setting for an adventure. But the Blue Ridge Mountains also saw unprecedented devastation last year from Hurricane Helene. Communities were destroyed, lives were lost, and the recovery will take years. That's why Countdown Treasury is committed to giving back. We'll be donating 10% of all proceeds, up to $20,000, towards continued relief and rebuilding efforts in the Blue Ridge region. Just as importantly, we encourage every adventurer to support these resilient communities directly by visiting the Blue Ridge Mountains. dining at local restaurants, shopping at small businesses, and staying with local hosts during the hunt. Together, we can make the adventure meaningful for everyone. It seems insanely cool. It really does. It's got a couple of sponsors. It says about the hunt, the Countdown Treasure 2025 is a real-world treasure that awaits discovery in the Blue Ridge Mountains. No riddles, just maps and determination. So apparently there's no riddle. There's nothing more to it than that. I was trying to add some more to it because it just seemed too good to be true, but apparently not. Just go out there. If you're in the local area, and I know I've got some paramaniacs in that area, go find some treasure. Get yourself some gold, people. How cool is that? Alrighty. That's not it for treasure, though, because I've got another paranormal news type part of this episode. Wyoming man starts treasure hunt similar to one now featured on Netflix. A Douglas man is still searching for a missing emerald for Forrest Fenn's treasure hunt that was found in Wyoming and is featured in a Netflix documentary. If found, he plans to add it to his own treasure. Forrest Fenn's treasure, an antique prize. You know what? I don't have to read that to you. You guys all know what Forrest Fenn's treasure is. I own the tiniest piece of Forrest Fenn's treasure because of you amazing paramaniacs. It was one that really kind of just took off in my brain. That one, the secret that I personally think I solved the location of one of the pieces of the secret. And obviously Oak Island. Like, for whatever reason, I don't really care about gold. I never wear gold or anything like that. But treasure, I get the appeal. The hunt for treasure is so appealing to me. But this guy, Wyoming treasure hunter Ronnie Gonzalez, who is based in Douglas, he believes the finder of Forrest Fenn's challenge dropped an emerald on his way out of the Wyoming wilderness, as well as a coin. Now, he's among treasure hunters that are still looking for missing pieces of Fenn's treasure, he says, which may be lying somewhere out in the Wyoming wilderness. He has an unusual plan for the gemstone and the coin if he finds them. He's not planning to cash them in, as most would do if they found them. That, despite their very high net worth, an emerald by itself is typically worth between $5,000 and $30,000 per carat, depending on the quality. Though some of the more exceptional quality gems could be worth six figures. Rather than cashing it in or keeping the emerald in a bank vault for himself, what he wants to do is add the missing pieces of Fenn's legendary stash to a new treasure hunt of his own. Gonzalez hid a treasure he put together in the Fremont Canyon a couple of years ago after Fenn's treasure was found. He said, "My treasure is not like Forrest Fenn's or Justin Posey big. Those are like multi-millions. But I've got several baseball cards in there that are worth a good amount of money. There's one card in there that's worth over $1,000. He said that Posey was also among those looking for Fenn's treasure and has since created his own treasure hunt, which may be worth about $5 million. So in a second here, I now have to figure out what the hell that one is, and I'm going to add that one to this episode. Gonzalez said the treasure hunt, or the treasure box, is valued in the thousands. Other items in it include a special item like a Damascus knife, a handmade hammer, and home run baseball from a professional game. Every item has a story of some kind. It comes from his own treasure hunting adventures across Wyoming and the United States. And he says he checks the treasure box in Fremont Canyon regularly. For one, it's a beautiful place where he loves to go climbing, so the box is a great excuse to spend more time there. But he also wants to continue adding to the treasure box, as well as ensure it's intact and weathering well. I try to add to it as I can. If I find something new or I find something that's valuable, it's got to be a beautiful piece. It's got to have value. I can't just get something from a secondhand store and throw it in there. It's got to have a story and be special with good aesthetics. He said that there are more clues coming. This summer, he plans to release a clue a month about where his treasure is located on his Facebook page and other social media platforms. He thinks of his treasure hunt as an unofficial tourism campaign, as well as a love letter to his favorite haunt. I've grown up backpacking and hiking and climbing around Fremont Canyon, so it's a place that is sentimental to me. So I put the treasure in a place that's always beautiful. It's always gratifying if you get to that place. It's magic. It's where the magic is, and that's all I can say. It does seem like for this one, you do have to be a little bit more athletic. There is climbing involved in this one, but again, 2 treasures. And I just found a third one, apparently, which I'm going to now pull up in a second. on two different sides of the United States. Besides The Secret, which again is still out there. And again, if you listen to that last episode I did about treasure hunting, I personally think I have figured out where one of the spots is for, winning a piece of treasure, if you will. All righty, let's click on this one. Justin Posey shares that he's restarting Forrest Fenn's treasure hunt and what to know. The software engineer and amateur treasure hunter has kickstarted a new hunt inspired by Forrest Fenn. Let's see. I know all about Forrest Fenn. You guys do too. Where was his treasure? Blah, 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 la, la, la. Justin Posey is a software engineer based in Texas, and one of the Fenn's dedicated treasure hunters is featured in the documentary that's out now. He said his family and friends would categorize him as an eccentric due to his unique hobbies, including his love for artifacts and treasure. I don't care about your grandpa. Seems like a great guy, but I don't care about your grandpa. Let's move on. At the beginning of the first episode of Gold and Greed, Posey goes off camera to tell filmmakers that he had hidden clues on the set in his house throughout the interview. Neither Netflix nor the directors of the film know if any of the clues hinted at actually made it into the documentary's final cut, but Justin said he feels confident that they are there. No one working on the production or the distribution of this program has any knowledge of any purported buried or abandoned property or any supposed related clues, and does not encourage you to search for any hidden treasures, blah, blah, blah. Just go out and search for it. But he created a website, here we go, called Beyond the Map's Edge for news and information relating to his treasure hunt. All righty, that's what I'm looking for. I confirm I'm 18 years old or older. Yes, I do agree to all that nonsense. Yes. Beyond the Map's Edge. Oh, wow. There's a lot to this one. Starts off, I already am in love with this guy. Starts off with, who wouldn't want to be Indiana Jones? Me, I would. I want to be. Welcome to the official site for Beyond the Map's Edge. If this is your first visit, you're almost certainly here because you watch Netflix docuseries Gold and Greed, The Hunt for Fenn's Treasure. I'm Justin Posey, and I've created this site to be the official home for news and information related to my treasure hunt. I've also written a book to help guide you there. Gold and Greed showed viewers how blah, 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 blah. Let's get through this. You want to get a copy of Beyond the Map's Edge, which contains more clues as well as insights into who, what, where, and why of this treasure. Beyond the Map's Edge. Oh, wow. This is cool. All right, I'm going to have to buy this book. I buy every treasure hunter book that I can find, including The Secret. But, and there's another one, and I can't think of, hold on, I got to get, it's going to take me 1 second. You know what? Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Treasure hunt book. What's it called? There's it. There's a book that I got, I don't know, last summer called There's Treasure Inside. There's Treasure Inside. The Pokemon treasure, basically. It is an incredibly cool book that I cannot decipher to save my life, but I'm in a lot of the groups, and I'm not on the Discord. I'm not on Discord, but there's a lot of different like Facebook groups and pages dedicated to There's Treasure Inside. Yet another treasure hunt. And there's multiple treasures along with that one. So what are we up to, like 5 treasures already? 4 treasures in this episode alone? 1, 2, and there's at least 5 in there. So yeah, there's like 5 treasures, 3. So at least 5 treasures are out there in America to be found that are real. And I got to be honest, that first one from the with the webcam on it, that one seems really easy. There's not even clues that you have to decipher like I was expecting. Like the There's Treasure Inside book, it's nothing but clues. But you got to figure it out. And it's driving me batshit crazy because I'll go down, I think it's this, 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 and this. And the next day I'm like, I don't think it's any of that. And it hurts my brain. So I had to stop reading that book. But there you go. I'm going to buy Justin Posey's book. I already forgot the name of it, but I just said it. It doesn't matter. Beyond the Map's Edge. Yeah, Beyond the Map's Edge. So get out there. Find some treasure. It gets you outside. That's already a win right there. And it seems like good, clean fun, except for the one that's in that Fremont Canyon where it seems like you're going to have to climb. The rest of them are just walk around. If you can walk around in the woods, you can find yourself some treasure. Yeah, there you go. So that's the treasure part of this episode. For all those that were saying, Curt, you didn't do a treasure part. Well, now I did, including one that I didn't even know about until just now. Also, I haven't had a chance to watch that Netflix series, Golden Greed. Now I definitely need to, because I love all things about Forrest Fenn. Alrighty, let's keep on keeping on. No commercial for this section. Let's, for this next one, I wanted to talk about witches. But I wanted to talk about witches that seem to have proof. Okay, I'm warning you now. I'm going to be intentionally vague for their safety as well as mine. So if you want to know why I'm being vague about this part of this episode, well, after this episode, you can Google what I'm about to talk about, and you're going to get a lot more information, and you're going to see why I wanted to be intentionally vague. For this one, we travel back to just a few weeks ago when I was Googling news stories for this episode, for the 300th, because I wanted to include something about witches for the 300th. Because as you know, I haven't been able to crack that code on how to do a good witches episode yet. And I stumbled upon a Jezebel article. Jezebel's a website. An article on Jezebel about these Etsy witches and the services that you can get from them on Etsy. Now, they're called the Strix Sisters. That's S-T-R-I-X. The Strix Sisters. Curt here, if you really want to Google later, that's where I would start. And the Strix Sisters did offer services like winning money, finding love, cursing your enemies. I say did because something happened, and then because of that something that happened, they were forced to take their own shop down off Etsy. The Jezebel article mentioned cursing your enemy spell and who they wanted to curse, and it was a public figure. Curt here, it was obviously meant as a lighthearted piece of entertainment because we're getting close to Halloween time and the divisiveness in politics. But politics being what they are, it blew up. The Jezebel article and the Strix Sisters seem to have been removed from Etsy and the article on Jezebel. Again, this was pre that incident that you can probably figure out if you Google the Strix Sisters. I thought it was a harmless piece of fun, so I reached out to them. And I also bought 2 money spells from them, quote, to win money for my dream house for Rum and I is what I said it. And as of this writing, I have not, or this recording, I have not won the lotto to buy Rum and me one of my dream houses. But, you know, fingers crossed, I'm going to focus. It's still going to happen. But I thought it was going to be fun. I thought it was a harmless piece of fun, so I reached out to them. I was even going to have them on this episode, but again, because of this incident, they received so many death threats that they thought it wouldn't be safe for them or for me, and they rightfully backed out, and I was fine with them backing out. Hopefully one day I'll still have them on somewhere later on down the line once everybody's cooled off a little bit, because I don't think they were responsible for that incident. Even if they were the best witches in the world, they weren't responsible for that incident. Like I said, it bums me out because as of the 300th, I still have not had a witch on that can prove to me that witchcraft is real. And I really want this for an episode. So I'm going to end this little brief segment to say, if you are or know a witch that can prove to me that witchcraft is real. And yes, I know psychics and mediums and everybody like this in the paranormal community hate having to give proof. I get that. But I really would like to talk to a witch and not just some person that, wears all black and likes Halloween. You know what I mean? I really want to talk to a witch so I can at least finally step foot into the beginnings of multiple witch episodes for the show. Because like I have said numerous times, if you're a regular listener, every time I try to do an outline or start an outline for witches, I go, well, no, I don't want to start there. I want to go back a little bit. No, I don't want to go back. I want to go back even farther than that. I kind of want to talk about how they even got to be, and it just implodes on itself. It becomes too much. It's not going to be if I continued on that outline the way I have been, it would be like an encyclopedia of witches, which sounds great. And I'm sure some of you would love to listen to like a 6-hour episode about witchcraft. I just don't have it in me to focus for 6 hours to write this detailed outline of witchcraft. And again, I want someone that's really a witch, not I'm witchy, I like stuff, or I learned a spell off of Reddit or whatever. I get it. I'm with you. I've learned spells off Reddit. My friends and I have recently talked about a spell that was learned online, I believe, for how to win the lotto. So I get that, but I want like someone that's knows everything about witchcraft, about witches, and can take me through their journey into becoming a witch. Plus, I do want a money spell that will allow me to get Rum the house with the yard that she deserves. So selfishly, yeah, I want a witch on that show for that reason too, but there's more. I just want to figure out how to tackle witchcraft in an episode and do it justice once and for all. Again, like I said, I have written and rewritten a witch outline too many times, and I'm just never happy with any of them. There's many an episode for this podcast that I've written the outline for, gone through the entire thing, written the outline, and then it just doesn't thrill me. It just doesn't hook me. And if it doesn't hook me, I don't want to do the episode because I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I keep thinking in my brain, if I'm not hooked when I'm doing the episode, why would you be hooked listening to the episode? I know that content is good, and I know there's a story there for a lot of the episodes. Some of these outlines, I'm just like, no, we'll get back to that sometime or never get back to it, and that'll be fine. But I know there's a story there. I know there's a hook there in a lot of these episodes, and I just haven't figured it out yet. And that's what I have to do. I kind of have to take myself out or away from that outline for a very long time sometimes, maybe in a year or so. And then I go back to it, and I figure out the hook, and then I'm really jazzed about doing this episode, and I cruise through it. That JFK episode was a perfect example where I couldn't crack it, and then I cracked it. And then, oh my God, I love that episode. I love deep diving the JFK assassination. I know that sounds weird, but I do. That's about as close to my favorite murder as I can get. So anyhow, with all of that, said, beware. Google the Strix sisters, that's Strix sisters, at your own risk. Do not lump me in with the politics, or in my opinion, them in with the politics that I just avoided in this entire segment, please, okay? We cool? I wanted more. I wanted an interview part of this episode, and it was going to be that, but it didn't happen, and that's fine. So we changed, and we're going to move on. So how about a slightly lighter witch story? Huh? See? I am going to give you a little witch story right here that I've had lying around for a witch episode, but I'm going to use it as kind of like a political palate cleanser right now because, again, don't lump me in with the politics, and again, I don't think even lump them in with the politics. Let's leave that behind. So this story, she's called The Witch of Yazoo City, Mississippi. I misspelled city, and I couldn't figure out what word I was trying to say. The Witch of Yazoo City, Mississippi. She was an old woman living on the Yazoo River who was caught torturing and or murdering fishermen who she lured in off the river. So, yeah, fishermen started going missing or, being tortured, and they finally figured out, oh, it's the old lady that lives down by the Yazoo River. So the sheriff goes down there to talk to her initially, and immediately she just runs off. And he's like, uh-oh, yep, she's guilty. And he starts chasing her through the swamps. And, well, just like I learned as a kid, you gotta watch where you step because quicksand is everywhere, people. And, well, she didn't watch where she stepped and was trapped in quicksand. So the sheriff apparently just watched as she drowned in the quicksand. As she was sinking, it is said, and this is legend, grain of salt time here, people. As she was sinking, it is said, she swore her revenge on Yazoo City. She said, in 20 years, I will return and burn this town to the ground. And I'm sure the sheriff was like, okay, bye, witch. Bye now. And in my mind, he then stepped on her head and pushed her the rest of the way under the quicksand. But we don't know if that's true. But I'm telling the story, so that's what happened. Anyhow, no one thought much of it at the time. But then came May 25th, 1904, where you guessed it, it's been 20 years. The fire of 1904 destroyed over 200 residents and nearly every business in Yazoo City. I keep wanting to call it Yahoo. Yazoo City. 324 buildings were destroyed in total. What? How is that not a bigger story? She said she was going to do it. She said 20 years. 20 years later, boom. Yazoo City burnt. Cool. All right. Again, one day my witch episode will happen. I know. But until that day, let's keep on keeping on. But before we do, we've got a commercial.
Get ready for the facts of life. TV's funniest teens.
Certainly be a change from milk and cookies.
That's not the school uniform.
They're breaking hearts
Pack up, Brooke Shields, you're through.
and busting all the rules
2 brews. 1 brew, I'll have a beer.
while learning all about
You've had biology. Figure it out.
the facts of life.
Weekday afternoons at 4 on KY3.
I never realized that Mrs. Garrett was like so horny in this whole episode. She's like, yeah, let's do dirty things. You guys remember the facts of life? Is this any of this landing? I'm very curious to see if any of this lands for anybody that's, Gen Z. Whatever. It's fun for me. Let's talk about conspiracy theories. Get this one. This conspiracy theory is one that my first ever guest on episode 1, that's right, Mickey Gallier, told me about. And I was like, sweet, that's awesome. Come on the show and tell it. And he goes, no, I don't want to. I don't want to come on the show and tell this one. You tell this one, Curt. I give this one to you. So I'm going to try and do it justice. It's called the Illuminati card game, and it was made in 1994. Yes, 1994. And it's almost rivaling The Simpsons as a predictor of the future for real. Conspiracy theorists think the entire plan for the New World Order has been drawn on the cards. So, if you want to know the entire New World Order plan, just buy this card game. Curt here, it's expensive. Alrighty, so what is some of the stuff that it predicted? Well, it has a card that shows the Twin Towers. And one of them, I gotta say, does look a hell of a lot like when the plane hit the building. It is eerily accurate. Especially, remember, this game came out 7 years before 9/11 happened. And it looks a lot like the 9/11. If you look at this card, pull it up and look at it, you're going to be like, oh, shit. That's what it looked like when that freaking plane hit the building. It's terrifying. Then it has another card that shows a blast or an explosion, however you want to word it, fire at the Pentagon. Again, 1994, way before 2001. It shows the Pentagon burning. Another card shows barbed wire fencing around the White House and increased security, shall we say, around the White House. We all know who did that and when. Then there's a card called Charismatic Leader that shows a blonde man from behind addressing a crowd of really adoring supporters, shall we say, that many think is a foretelling of Trump. Fun. Then there is a card that shows, quote, the advent of militant political correctness. I don't think I have to say any more about that. Again, 1994. Then there's a card that's called March on Washington. That looks a hell of a lot like a lot of the marches that have happened not only on Washington, but around America. Fun. Then there's a card called Market Manipulation, instigating a deliberate Wall Street crash, even, quote, a plague of demons descending upon D.C. Fun. Then there's I'm going to start cruising through these because there's a lot of cards in this card game. It's a card game. There's a lot of cards. There's a black activist card. There's a card that shows a doctor hugging a skeleton, obviously during a pandemic. There is an epidemic card that shows a lot of the same things that we saw during the pandemic. There is an emergency powers card that shows the military taking down a colored person. It is not good. There is a martial law card, a CDC card, a law and order card that are all very telling of modern politics. And then there's this one. Again, no politics, everyone. Calm down. I'm reading what someone else wrote about this card, okay? There is a card titled Enough is Enough. On it, it says at any time, our snipers can drop you. Have a nice day. And the picture kind of looks like Trump. Conspiracy theorists on Reddit and online, a lot of sites online, but on Reddit especially, say that if you look at the last short that Charlie Kirk did on social medias, there is a thumbnail of Trump. And I gotta say, they are right. It does look a hell of a lot like the drawing on the card. And the title or caption or whatever you want to call it of that last Charlie Kirk post, video, whatever, is Enough is Enough. So, yeah, there are a lot of similarities on that card to what happened recently in real life. So yeah, okay. Conspiracy theorists say that this card game is the playbook for the New World Order. And they, and I'm really air quoting they, whoever they are, want you to know. They have it all pre-written. They control everything. And they're just kind of laying it all out there going, here you go. You know, figure it out as we go along, basically. And you're going to start seeing more and more that it's true. And we are so confident of it, we don't care if you know. Okay, I can see why Mickey didn't want to come on and do this piece now. So, yeah, I tried to find a copy of the card game, but it's expensive now. I'm not spending hundreds of dollars to be shown how bad the Illuminati, I guess, are going to make the world. Because it's called Illuminati, so are we going down that rabbit hole that the New World Order are the Illuminati? Sure, why not? Although, I will say, when I did have a Twitter before that fucknut bought it and ruined it, I was friends with the Illuminati account and had a blue check mark on Twitter, which I thought was hilarious. And they said I could be a member. And they followed me back. So, I don't know, maybe Paranormal Almanac is safe from the game, and therefore you're safe from the game. But here's what I need someone to do. I need someone that has this game already. Don't spend hundreds of dollars on it unless you've got millions. Don't waste your money for just me. Someone who has this card game, I need you to check the cards for a bearded guy in front of a mic wearing a dumb gray hat, please, and let me know what that card says. Because, you know, again, this is all fun, people. No politics, just having fun, talking about Bigfoot. Everybody relax. Before I move on, I will say that there is also stories that are connected to this card game online that have a kernel of truth, but have been spun wildly out of control. So I want to set the record straight a little bit. People are wrong about the Secret Service confiscating the creator of the game Illuminati Cards hard drive. Yes, technically, they did raid his house. That part is true, and they did confiscate his hard drives, but it had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the Illuminati card game. It had to do with a new game that he was making called GURPS. I kid you not, GURPS, GURPS Cyberpunk. And, well, how real the playbook looked like a hacker's or cyber warfare playbook to, do really bad shit in the real world. That's how well or researched it was. And the government were concerned that he was really making something that people could use to basically do evil. They raided his house. They confiscated his hard drives because of GURPS Cyberpunk and not the Illuminati card game. He later sued for damages and won, but GURPS Cyberpunk remains as one of the works of fiction that caused a Secret Service raid before it was even released to the public. One of the company's employees, Lloyd Blankenship, I don't know if any of this is true. I found this online. It seemed to be true. Grain of salt it. Says was also a hacker and served as the system operator for a messaging board that had published a stolen set of files detailing how America's 911 emergency response system worked for the game. Well, a fact the Secret Service had been tipped off to, and that's what granted them a search warrant to investigate. So, yeah, these guys were definitely into stuff and were messing around with stuff that got them in trouble with the government. Fun times. But it was not, there's a lot of people online that say, and the creator of this card game had the Secret Service come to his house and confiscate every hard drive because of how accurate this guy is at predicting the future. They don't seem to be connected, at least as far as I can tell. Fun times. Okay. No more political stuff on the rest of this episode, please. Tensions are high enough as is. But first, here's a message from our sponsors.
Sensuous hair. Soft to the eye, soft to the touch. That's the soft color of preference. Beautiful, and I'm worth it.
The Soft Color of Preference by L'Oreal.
Thursday, buckle up because Mark is taking his driver's test.
Get down! Get funky!
Mark and Mindy. Then, Bosom Buddies moves to a new night as they get mixed up with a mobster.
It's always darkest right before the dawn.
Thursday on ABC.
All righty, let's stick with predictions just a little bit longer. Welcome back. I should say that after a commercial. How unprofessional of me. Welcome back to Paranormal Almanac. Let's stick with predictions for a little bit longer. Here's some fun random predictions that, again, I had started for a few different episodes and I just never really included them. Did you know there was a science fiction novel from 1968 called Stands on Zanzibar that takes place in the year 2010? Again, this book is from 1968. The book supposedly, the book takes place in the year 2010. And they mentioned the president was an African-American and President Obama. Not Obama, but Obama. Weird, huh? Then, did you know that Roger Ebert of Siskel and Ebert predicted the rise of high-definition widescreen televisions and streaming services in 1987? He said, "We will all have high-definition widescreen television sets and a push-button dialing system to order the movie you want at the time that you want it." 1987, that's pretty good. Then, going all the way back to Nikola Tesla, he foresaw the development of touchscreen devices and wireless technology in 1926. He said, "A man will be able to carry one in his vest pocket." Hey, that sounds like a cell phone. Yes, it does. Then, when wireless technology is perfectly applied, the whole Earth will be converted into a huge brain. We shall be able to communicate with one another instantly, irrespective of distance. Not only this, but through television and telephony, we shall see and hear one another as perfectly as though we were face to face, despite intervening distances of thousands of miles. And the instruments through which we shall be able to do this will be amazingly simple compared with our present telephone. A man will be able to carry one of these in his vest pocket. That is cool. As you know, absolutely love Tesla. Nikola Tesla, that is. Absolutely love Nikola Tesla. And again, I seriously think that he created more stuff than we will ever probably know about, sadly. Then, how about this weird one? Bin Laden's location. That's right, a character from the TV show Scrubs, the janitor, predicted that Osama bin Laden would be found in Pakistan. How about this one? Mark Twain predicted his own death. He said in 1909 that he would die when Halley's Comet appeared, which he did on April 21st, 1910, the day after the comet's closest approach to the Earth. He said, I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. Sorry, I'll start that over. I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It is coming again next year, and I expect to go out with it. It'll be the greatest disappointment of my life if I don't go out with Halley's Comet. The Almighty said, no doubt. Now, here are these two unaccountable freaks. They came in together. They must go out together. And I know a lot of you are screaming right now, it's Halley's Comet, Curt. Actually, it's not. Back when Halley's Comet was coming through the last time, me and my buddy, my best friend at the time, Scott, rest in peace, the coolest guy, Scott, we had a telescope set up in his backyard, and we saw Halley's Comet. And I got a book that year for my birthday about the comet, and it said it's pronounced Halley's Comet. So there's a little piece of info for you. Then how about this? In the late 1940s, both Alan Turing and Claude Shannon predicted that computers would one day be capable of beating a chess grandmaster. As you all know, I'm sure, this actually occurred in 1997 when Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov. How about all that stuff that Back to the Future got right? I mean, there was a ton of crap. If you really go back and watch Back to the Future 2, there's a ton of stuff that they got right. Obviously, a little bit theatrically done, but still a lot of stuff that's very, very accurate. Oh, my God, what's this? We have another commercial break already? Hold on.
You thought you killed me. Freddy Krueger will never die. I'm closer than you think. Just a phone call away. Dial this number and prepare to be scared. And I'm always around, everywhere. So dial this number now if you dare. Join the Freddy Fan Club. Freddy Krueger has a special message just for you.
$1.50 for the first minute, 35 cents each additional minute.
I'm not going to give out that number because I'm sure this 1-900 number is probably porn or something now. I don't know what it would be. It seems like it would be a scam, and I don't want you guys to get scammed. But love that commercial from back in the day. And then we go to David Brin. Even more predictions. Don't worry. In case you forgot what was happening, when all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck is Freddy Krueger doing? What is happening? David Brin, a hard science fiction author. I don't know what a hard science fiction author is. I know what science fiction is. Is hard science fiction dirty? It seems porny, right? He says he's a hard science fiction writer. He wrote a book called Earth back in the early 90s. Now, there's a website which tracks the predictions that he made in the book and their accuracies. I'm not going that far down the rabbit hole. I'm just going to gloss over some. But to give you an idea, according to the website, they say 14 predictions are confirmed already. 8 are likely confirmed already. 5 are open to interpretation. 2 are unlikely. 1 is disproved. 22 are still to be assessed or happen. So, again, very briefly, let's deep dive this one as shallow as we can get. I will say that some of his predictions are very, very obvious. Again, this was written in the 1990s. So, come on. But sure, let's do this. He predicted global warming and the rising sea levels, and they checked that one off as confirmed. Yeah, okay. Curt here, in the 90s, I knew about global warming and rising sea levels, and I knew it was real. This one, though, is very interesting. The Mississippi River levees breaking. In the book, he said, Logan's private estimates, there we go, suggest that the new levees would keep Old Man River out of the Atchafalaya Valley for at least another 3 decades maximum. Claire considered herself an optimist, saying 10 years tops, she muttered to herself. And sadly, yes, the Mississippi River levees did break around that exact same time frame. So cool, confirmed. I'll give him that one. He thought that there would be mining rubbish. I get what he's kind of saying, that these landfills, people are going to start mining them for resources, for new resources that weren't, thought of back in the day. And I get what he means. He means rare earth minerals and things needed for, cell phones and technology. And that has happened. I get that one. I'll give him a likely. Sure, why not? Ozone hole repercussions. Again, 1990s. Curt knew about that. Come on. Geoengineering. How about fighting the greenhouse effect by sending lots of dust into the atmosphere to block the light like those volcanoes did during the chill snap of 2009? Okay. Again, this was a theory in the 90s and pretty much not that much of a leap, but they gave him a confirmed on that one. Sure, why not? Self-expression via web broadcast information. They're basically saying social media. 90s? It's pre-social media. Okay, maybe. Spam email. Confirmed. Sure, 1990s, I didn't get any spam email, so, well, depend on what year in the 1990s. What year did this thing come out? In the early 90s. Now, there was still email, not so much spam email, so all right, I'll give him that one. I'm going to skip ahead. The partition of the Soviet Union. Yeah, all right. Confirmed. Sure, why not? I mean, that did happen the way he said it. I'm not going to go in too deep into it. Secrecy uprising. Basically, he's saying that classes are going to become wider, which they did, and that it's going to be harder and harder to stop the upper class. Yeah, I'll give you that one. Fukushima nuclear disaster. Alrighty, he says, let's put aside illegality and talk about secrecy. Secrecy meant it wasn't the subject to scrutiny and criticism. That's how calamities like Chernobyl and Lamberton and Fukushima happened. Okay, so not exactly Fukushima, but sure, I'll give him that one. It's closer than most Nostradamus shit, and people give him tons of stuff. There's a bunch citizens reporting or filming police actions as they happen. All right, sure. Yeah, I'll give him that one. The increase in bicycles again. Yeah, all right. I'll give him that one. Sure, why not? Future religions. Sure, I guess. Smart mobs, basically, coming together as a group via smart things. So basically via the internet. Sure, maybe. Dirigibles for mass transportation hasn't happened yet. I'm not going to give him that one. So anyhow, yeah, you had some hits. But again, not too many were mind-blowing, for me anyway. Feel free to deep dive David Brin and his book Earth if you want. But if you really want to get blown away, if those kind of things made you go, well, you got that right. Oh, you got that right. How about this? In 1993, AT&T ran a series of ads called You Will. Again, 1993. And they all came true. I'm going to play some of them for you in just a minute, and it should go like, whoa, that is crazy. This was in 1993, but hold on. Again, considering it's not that much of a leap of faith because they were planning on or working on them. This was AT&T. They probably had already made them for the government. They just weren't available to the general population. But again, here is a few AT&T commercials from 1993 narrated by the at that time, great Tom Selleck. So check this out.
You thought you killed me. Freddy Krueger will never die.
Oh my God, Freddy Krueger's back. Why is that happening?
You thought you killed me.
Freddy Krueger is not going to let me play this. This is interesting. It won't freaking go to it. It pops up for a split second, and then it just takes off again. And then it wants to go to Freddy Krueger. Okay, fine. AT&T, You Will commercials. Freddy, man, I opened up a world of hurt with that one. Here we go.
Have you ever borrowed a book from thousands of miles away? Across the country? without stopping for directions. Or sent someone a fax. From the beach, you will.
All right, I will say that audio only, it's not that impressive. Fax, no. It was an email. They showed a guy on a tablet at the beach writing an email and sending it off. And they also showed a car with a very fancy GPS, obviously directing them. Basically, things that we take for granted today, really take for granted. I couldn't tell you how to get places without, pulling it up on my phone or in my car. But in 1993, and a lot of people are like, whoa, AT&T predicted the future in 1993. I'm going to keep going and do another one for you.
And the company that'll bring it to you, AT&T. Have you ever paid a toll without slowing down? Bought concert tickets from a cash machine?
Yeah, perfect.
You will. And the company that'll bring it to you, AT&T. Have you ever watched a movie you wanted to, the minute you wanted to? Learn special things.
That's all taken from jazz.
Know any questions? From faraway places.
Oakland?
So where did jazz come from?
Good question. Or tucked your baby in. From a phone booth. You will.
All right, that's enough of those. But there's plenty more. And again, we all take it for granted now, but in 1993, it would seem like they predicted the future well before this stuff happened. But again, you have to think they were still are, a huge company that were working on this stuff and probably, again, already made a lot of it for the government. So they knew it was eventually come out to the general public. They've got watch phones. They've got pretty much everything that is around your house, like an Alexa. They have pretty much everything that you could think of, streaming services. But it was talked about in 1993. I think that is way more impressive than David Brin, and way more fun than the Illuminati card game. But it's weird. It's creepy. And again, if you go down that rabbit hole, a lot of people think it was predicting the future. Kind of, but it was predicting a future that they already knew was coming because they already were working on building it. Anyhow, let's keep on keeping on. Let's talk about a conspiracy surrounding the Conjuring House. It seems like from episode 1 to episode 2, or episode part 1 and part 2 of the 300th episode, I should say, things have changed. I probably won't even get a chance to bid on the Conjuring House on October 31st now. I am not as optimistic as Jason Hawes is. I'll tell you that right now. It really seems like something changed and somebody swooped in. Curt here, in my opinion. It's got to be the douchebaggins. But I don't know if that's the case because, as you'll hear in a minute, we have a new douchebaggin, so who maybe it was him. I don't know. But there is, here's a little paranormal news in the middle of this episode. Ghost Hunters Jason Hawes says, fight continues for infamous Conjuring House. There are a lot of questions concerning the future of the Burrillville, Rhode Island infamous Conjuring House after J.J. Manning Auctioneers announced that the auction scheduled for Halloween was canceled. Yeah, canceled. Hours after, Boston 25 News exclusively spoke with the Ghost Hunters paranormal investigator Jason Hawes. The message was posted on the auctioneer's website. The message says the auction was canceled due to the sale of the mortgage loan on the house. Let me just jump into what Jason Hawes has got to say real quick. You can hear from him.
Are wondering what exactly is happening with the Conjuring House. One moment there was an auction, then suddenly that auction was canceled. Over the last few days, there have been quite a few developments. JJ Manning Auctioneers posted this message in red lettering just a few hours after our story aired, saying the auction that was set to take place on October 31st is now canceled. The message says the auction was canceled due to a sale of the mortgage loan on the house.
And bottom line, let me just make this clear. A lot of misunderstandings are out there.
Wednesday night, Jason went on YouTube Live to announce that the GoFundMe page started to save the farmhouse was paused after already raising thousands. But several hours after, Jason announced that it has now resumed with hashtags still in the fight and still a chance.
Needham Bank sold off the mortgage. They didn't sell off the house. They sold the mortgage. So whoever bought the mortgage is now going to have to go through the whole foreclosure process again. And
But
talking
not
to the
publicly.
team all day long, there's a lot of different avenues we have now. This actually makes it a higher probability than we were last week when we had to go up against everybody. We can do this. This can be a historic movement like no other.
We spoke to Andrea Perrin back on October 7th. She has publicly voiced her concern over the property falling into the wrong hands.
The only thing that could make me luckier is to know that the only place that has ever felt like home to me in my whole life has been saved, that it is safe. And that is what matters to me more than anything.
Stay with me. We are not done.
All right. Again, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to open it up as Jason Hawes. And I could be wrong. I don't know anything more than anybody else does, more than Jason Hawes does. I don't know who bought that. I don't know who bought the mortgage. But it seems to me if they bought the mortgage, they no longer need to auction it off. Yes, he's right. They're going to have to go through the whole foreclosure process, but they can do it privately. And I have a feeling, again, I think I know who did it and why, and it's not going to be a public sale. And it really bums me out because, again, I know that Jason Hawes in his GoFundMe, you would think he'd have enough money to just buy it out and not worry about it, but his GoFundMe has way more money than I ever will. I get that. In fact, let's find out what is his GoFundMe at. Let's pull that up real quick. $145,252 have been raised as of right now. So give you an idea when it was done. And people are cruising, throwing in thousands of dollars. Look, I like Jason Hawes. This is not a slight against Jason Hawes. He is trying to do something very nice for Andrea. I get that, and that's very nice and very cool. I don't understand why he has to do a GoFundMe asking people that don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars, which I assume he does after years of being on TV, but what do I know? Maybe he doesn't have that money anymore. Why he has to go that route, but his GoFundMe is still up and still running with a $700,000 goal. I understand the fact that I will not raise that much money by the 31st. Well, you know what? Screw that. Never know. I got the sorry, Rum. That was me tapping on my desk, knocking on wood. That wasn't anybody at the door. I apologize, sweetheart. Yeah, there you go. Lay back down, sweetheart. I will say that, hey, maybe I will. Maybe I will get my money, enough money that I can outbid all of these people, but I don't think it's going to matter. I really don't see this auction happening on October 31st or this auction happening at all. Which brings me to, we have a new douchebaggins out there. Not too new. You guys know about him a little bit, but Matt Rife. You might know who Matt Rife is. He's a popular stand-up comedian. He recently announced that he purchased the home of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And the Conjuring couple's grandson says, I'd never even heard of him. But the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the paranormal investigators who inspired the Conjuring movies, is revealing his reaction to the news that comedian Matt Rife had purchased the Warrens' home and guardianship of their spooky objects, including Annabelle the doll. His name is Chris McNichol. He's the son of Warren's daughter, Judy Spira. And he said, matter-of-factly, I'd never even heard of him until he bought it. I didn't know who he was. For the uninitiated, this website says, Matt Rife is a stand-up comedian and actor with multiple comedy specials under his belt, and that he bought the Warrens' home, which doubles as an occult museum. That makes Rife the legal guardian for at least the next 5 years of the entire haunted collection, including Annabelle the doll. He said he did not have anything more to say about Rife on the podcast publicly, but instead revealed that he is far more concerned about his mother's husband, Tony Spira, allowing things out on tour from his grandparents' archive of paranormal objects, which Rife is now the guardian of. Judy and Tony Spira run the New England Society for Psychic Research, which was founded by the Warrens to seeks to carry on the exploration and the investigation of paranormal and demonic entities per their website. I don't like where it's going. I don't like how he's doing it. I don't think it is in the paranormal community's best interests. I think it is a bit like Zach Baggins, where he now owns, he took this ball and went home with it. And if you want the ball, you're going to have to go to him and pay him for it. That is, in my opinion, what Zach Baggins has done with a lot of the paranormal stuff. I have seen it firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand, first with the Cecil Hotel. I had a deal to go into the Cecil Hotel and do a podcast, and it was open for paranormal investigations, and it wasn't that hard to get. And then Zach Baggins swooped in, did his episode about the Cecil Hotel, and part of that episode about the Cecil Hotel is no other paranormal investigators can now do it. And he locks that shit down. It happened again recently at the Bobby Mackey auction, where all of a sudden everything in the Bobby Mackey auction started going through the roof for no reason. Like, it should not have jumped up how high it did. And it wasn't until I contacted the Bobby Mackey place to be like, what is going on with this auction? Because I wanted to find out about shipping and everything else, and kind of also say, like, what the hell's going on, man? And that's when the guy said, hey, just a heads up, there's this famous paranormal investigator. I don't want to say his name, but he's going to make it so that nobody else can have it. So he owns all of Bobby Mackey's stuff. And I went, oh, Zach Baggins? And the guy was like, I don't want to say yes, but yes. And it wasn't, it wasn't a guess on my part. It was known that he had swooped in and he started buying out everything. Now, luckily, the way that the auction worked, I managed to swoop in at the last second and buy something on the cheap, a section of the Bobby Mackey dance floor that is still in the box from when it was shipped to me. I've not unboxed it yet to even look at it. I'm literally tapping it with my foot as I speak right now. It's right in front of me behind my computer desk. I just don't know how long I'm going to live at this apartment, so I didn't want to start unboxing, very haunted, creepy stuff. But yeah, it is unfortunate, in my opinion, that Zach Baggins continues to do that again and again and again, only to show two things. One, he's got all the money, and it's very hard to beat him. I think personally, again, this is just personally, I think he did that with the TV shows as well. I think the reason that a lot of paranormal TV shows went away and his didn't has to deal with him. And I know that there are a lot of people like Amy Bruni came forward and said that's not how TV works. I disagree. Respectfully disagree, because I love Amy. But yeah, I think that there is some shady dealings with Zach Baggins that have happened in the past. Oh no, I won't be on his TV show. I wasn't going to be on it anyway. But yeah, unfortunately, I think this is going to happen more and more. And that really, really bums me out. Let's take a quick commercial break because, again, it's getting a little bit too heated. We don't want that.
Mom? I've got to ask you something real personal. Do you douche?
I sure do. But only with Massonville vinegar and water.
Why Massonville vinegar and water?
That's what my doctor recommends. For a naturally fresh feeling, only Massonville has 2 vinegar and water douches. Pure, extra mild, and extra cleansing when you need it.
You'll see how clean and fresh Massonville makes you feel.
Massonville, trusted by more women than any other brand.
I don't know what made me think to add a douche commercial right then and there. I don't know. Just random classic commercials, I guess. All right, at this point in the outline, I had to take a Frankenberry break, And that's what made me think, I think the world became a much darker place when they changed the recipe to the monster cereals. I don't know when the last time you guys had Frankenberry or Boo Berry or Count Chocula, or Fruit Brute for that matter. They changed the recipe in my lifetime. Relatively in the 2000s, they changed the recipe. And it bums me out because it's not as good. The cereal just isn't as good anymore. And I wish they would go back to the old recipe. But anyhow, not done with conspiracy theories yet, because let's talk about one that is blowing up the internet and TikTok today. It is insane how many millions of people are talking about it. And that conspiracy theory is, why did Curt skip Nebraska in part 1 of the 300th episode? What did he know? Or what was he afraid for you to know? So let's deep dive that right now. Curt, why did you skip Nebraska in part 1 of the 300th? This is an exclusive, by the way. I'm exclusively interviewing Curt Sandvig of Paranormal Almanac. Curt, why did you skip Nebraska in part 1 of the 300th episode? Well, Curt, first of all, great question. Big fan, love the show. I forgot and I accidentally skipped it. All right. Well, with that, let's do it now. Nebraska, you wacky state. Let's do it right now. Let's go to Hummel Park and go to the Stairway to Hell. Actually, it's all Hummel Park alone is the urban legend for Nebraska, but I want to focus more on the Stairway to Hell for a minute. It's also known as the Morphing Staircase. Legend says that if you count the stairs going down and then count the stairs going up, you will find that the count is different. It's said you will always reach a different number. Curt here, or you just miscounted, it seems like. But if you do manage to get the same number going down that you did going up, the devil will appear and he'll give you a wish in exchange for your soul. Again, Curt here, I seriously think the devil has something better to do than hang out at Hummel Park all day, invisible, all day, just waiting to see if someone got the same number of steps both ways, and then jumping out and being like, aha, you said a different number. You want to exchange a wish for your soul? It's a good deal. All right, so then I watched a YouTube video of this guy and his nephew counting stairs. Get this, people. On the way up, he counted 186 and his nephew counted 185. Already got a difference. But then on the way down, he counted 186 going down. So he got the exact same number. No freaking devil showed up in the video. His nephew counted 189 going down. A 4-step difference. It's anarchy. Okay, so what else happens in the park? Yeah, that's about as exciting as the Stairway to, what is it called? Stairway to Hell happened for me. I investigated. I watched a really boring video of a guy who was way out of breath. Although I will say, 180-something steps, I would probably be a little bit out of breath going up it. Not so bad going down it, but sure. So what happens in the park? Let's do that. Hummel Park. In 1936, workers found the remains of a soldier in an unmarked grave. Now, this was like old-timey soldier. It's not like they just found some unmarked grave and it happened to have a soldier in it. No, an unmarked grave of a soldier from, I don't know, some oldie times, as well as the unmarked grave of a Native American. They did reinter both bodies at local cemeteries, so maybe that's what caused it. Again, poltergeist rules, people. You don't mess with Native American stuff. Anyhow, numerous deaths have happened in the park. Bodies have been found, and for some reason, they blame cannibal albinos for the deaths. What? Okay, let's go down that rabbit hole for a second. Screw the devil. I want to find out about the cannibal albinos, which I'm 75% sure is the name of a Rob Zombie movie. Cannibal albinos. All right, let's see. The park is said to have been the hotspot for satanic ritual murders. All right, there's no evidence of this besides graffiti depicting pentagrams, poorly formed pentagrams, and, other vandalism that is common in public parks. Don't care. The arching branches of the trees at the park's entrance are said to be weighed down from the spirits of the victims of lynchings in the park. Okay, cool. Don't care. Get to the albinos, people. Oh, get this. From the official wiki page about the stairs, there are 188 steps, and any counting errors are likely due to the irregular shape of the steps. So, again, neither the guy or his nephew got it right. Blah. Here we go. One of the urban legends suggests that cannibalistic albino people live in the trees at Hummel Park, ready to sink their sharp teeth into exposed flesh. Or another version of the story claims the cannibalistic albino people that live in the trees at Hummel Park perform satanic rituals and can live in a remote cabin somewhere in the woods nearby. There's quite the difference. You think you'd be able to spot cannibal albinos in the trees. I can spot squirrels in the trees when I go to parks near me. But sadly, Paramaniacs, that is as detailed as they ever get for the cannibal albinos. I can't find any more information of why there's cannibal albinos, why they possibly live in the trees or in a remote cabin somewhere in the woods of the park. How big is this park? It's like 200 acres. 200 acres isn't that big. It's not that, what's that movie, that M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village? Look, we're not being lost in the village here, people. Okay, so what else? Some people claim to have seen the ghost of Jacob Kletenoff, an actual German immigrant who did actually live there in the 1900s. His wife supposedly murdered him and then ran off with her lover. I don't know. He seemed to be like an old hermit. Some people see the ghosts of a man that is missing his nose, in some case missing his fingers. Either way, he's out there, and he's out there to scare people in the park if you go into the park after dark. Here's some more fun things that can happen if you go to this park after dark. Well, there's lots of sex workers in there. A lot of the videos about Hummel Park and a lot of the stories I heard about Hummel Park happen to deal with cracked out sex workers. So you got that going for you. There's also a lot of muggings, a lot of violence in the park. There have been murdered sex workers. I don't know. Basically, yeah, this park has got everything. Murdered sex workers, lynching trees, stairs you can't count, cannibal albinos, ghost missing pieces, and more. Yeah, I feel like Bill Hader's character from Saturday Night Live. This park has everything. But anyhow, there you go. Nebraska, you made it onto the 300th episode. I knew you could. Way to go, Nebraska. Let's hear it for you, Nebraska, and your crazy, funky, weird-ass cannibal albino in the trees park. Again, how hard is it to spot cannibal albinos in the tree? You think you could spot them from at least 2 or 3 trees away, so you don't have to get under the tree and then they jump down and bite into your neck. But what do I know? Maybe the park is so beautiful that you're not looking up into trees. And I will say, next time I take Rum for a WALK, she's right there. I don't want to say that word out loud because then she'll be excited. I am going to start looking for cannibal albinos in the trees of my area because I don't know. I haven't really looked up in the trees on my walk. Maybe they're there. Let's take a quick break.
From Kenner's Star Wars collection comes the Stormtrooper, the Sand People, and all 20 action figures, including new Hammerhead, Snaggletooth, and more, each sold separately. And now, Boba Fett, Star Wars villain with his laser rifle. Boba Fett is not yet available in stores, but you can get him free with 4 proofs of purchase from any Star Wars action figures. Details on specially marked packs at participating stores. Offer ends May 31st. Star Wars action figures sold separately from Kenner.
Man, I miss those commercials. There's nothing better in the world than vintage Star Wars commercials back in the day when you're a kid. You're like, whoa, who's that guy? Got to get him. Boba Fett with his laser rifle, new villain. Got to get him. Or the Sears catalog during Christmas time when you were a kid and you get to circle all the shit that you want. Again, I'm sorry, Gen Zs and Alphas. It was a thing that happened back in the day. Anyhow, I'm cruising through this episode way quicker than I thought I would be. I'll be honest. This is going way, way quicker than I thought and probably won't end up being a 3 to 4 hour episode at all. Let's see if we hit 2.5 hours. I don't know what's going to happen. It'll be as long as it is, but I'm enjoying it. So much politics and predictions. Hell, why not get to one thing for this episode that drives Curt crazy? Let's talk Mandela effects. That's right. We're going to see if there's any new Mandela effects. And if there are, will any blow me away like the girl with the braces in Moonraker? I'm going to tell you right now, in the real world, my universe, she had braces. That's the whole reason why Jaws and her smiled. It made sense. Without the braces, it doesn't make any sense. It's going to drive me crazy. But I'm not going to make this a long part of this episode, because if I do, and I do find one that blows my mind, I won't get over it for the rest of the episode. I won't be able to focus on the rest of the episode. I'm going to get all frazzled like I am currently just thinking about Moonraker, because it's not true. I won't be able to focus. So let's see. I looked up some new Mandela effects. 99% of the new, quote, Mandela effects you can find on Reddit are just people that don't remember things. I thought Kenny Rogers dated Dolly Parton. No, he didn't. Relax. Calm down. You just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They sang a song together. That's it. But there are a couple that I found that I'm going to throw on here. Let's see how these affect you. Is it Payless Shoe Store or Payless Shoe Source? Curt here. Gotta say, I don't remember. But apparently, this one's breaking a lot of people's brains online. What do you mean it's Payless Shoe Source? No. When I was a kid, it was Payless Shoe Store. I don't know. I got to get, I got to go to Kmart for my shoes. I don't remember. How about this one? Whistler's Mother's painting. You know the Whistler's Mother painting? You can picture it in your head right now. Shows the woman sitting on a rocking chair, or is she sitting on a regular chair? The answer may surprise you. I'll be honest, I wasn't sure either way. I could kind of picture it both ways in my mind. I'm pretty sure she was sitting on a rocking chair because that just seemed right, but turns out it's a regular chair. Okay, not frazzled yet. I was still happy with myself, not frazzled yet. Holland, is it a country or no? The answer may surprise someone not good at geography. Okay, this one made me think for a minute. I was like, Holland, yeah, it's just another name for the Netherlands, right? It's a country. No, yeah, right? Well, look it up yourself. Okay, how about this one? This one did bother me a little bit because here's what I want you to do. Picture Cinderella, the Walt Disney cartoon, the OG Cinderella cartoon. Are you picturing her? She's got blonde hair. She's got a blue. I'm not even looking at a photo of her. I can tell you. She's got blonde hair, blue eyes, blue dress. Cinderella, right? Here's the question. Does she have her ears exposed or no? And then I went, yeah, no, she does. She has her ears exposed, and for some reason I'm picturing like diamond earrings or some white earrings in her earlobes. Yeah, she has her ears exposed. Let me look it up. Well, as it turns out, her ears are actually always covered by her hair or a headband. Okay. Starting to get a little angry, but again, I'm not like, I didn't collect Cinderella stuff when I was a kid, so what do I know? I wish Sean Bishop was local still, so I could just, hit him up with that one in person. Because it's one thing to say it in person to somebody. It's another thing to say it, in a text, because obviously he's just going to look it up on a text and be like, Cinderella, hold on, let me take a look and Google it. No, she's got her ears covered. It's not as, effective as asking someone in person. But finally, I did find one that frazzled me. It surprised the crap out of me. And it might not be one that a lot of you know, not of the younger audience would know. How many bras were burnt during the women's lib protests? I remember it. It was a big deal. Women were burning their bras to protest women's liberation. I can picture it in my mind. A photo of a woman holding up a bra on fire, and that was a big deal because all of a sudden, they were swinging free. This one blew my mind. The answer is none. I seriously don't understand why that became a thing then, that women burnt their bras during the women's lib protests. That was the whole point of it, I thought. Not the whole point of it, don't get me wrong. I understand. I'm not belittling women's liberation, but what I mean is that was like a key thing of that protest is that women were burning their bras. But apparently, no bras were burnt during the women's liberation protests. Apparently, a group of women hurled mops, lipsticks, and high heels into, quote, a freedom trash can, and maybe even some bras, but never actually burnt their bras. That one bothers me. Again, I don't know why, but I can picture clearly in my head a photo that I must have learned in school of women burning their bras. Again, someone taught me that. It was definitely in school that I was taught that women burnt their bras, but apparently it was a thing that never happened. All right, so that really started to wrinkle my brain, started to really bother me. The rest of them, I either 100% knew to not be true, or I didn't have a clue about, and I didn't care. So I figured, all right, I'm starting to get angry. I want to be able to focus on the rest of the episode that I'm cruising through at a crazy rate. I am shocked how quickly this episode is moving on. So let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more Paranormal Almanac after this message.
He-Man, He-Man. Who's the big guy with the muscles?
He's He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Skeletor is his enemy.
He-Man, He-Man.
Here's He-Man, Skeletor, and Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together.
You're doomed, He-Man.
Oh, yeah? Watch this action, Dad.
He-Man.
Now I have the power.
He-Man and Skeletor each sold separately. Castle Grayskull also sold separately from the Masters of the Universe collection.
I will say, this says that this commercial came out in 1982. That kind of wrinkles my brain as well. This seems like a Mandela effect right there, because I would have bet money that I was at least 14 or 15 before He-Man came out. But apparently He-Man came out in 1982 when I was much, much younger. I don't know why I wasn't a huge fan of He-Man. Like, I'd watch the cartoon every now and then if nothing else was on, but I remember it more being like the kids my mom was did a daycare for. That's how I learned about Berenstain Bears, because my mom did the daycare, remember? I remember those kids being like way into He-Man, and I was like, oh, I'm too old for He-Man. I'm too cool. 82, not even, man. 82, I was still into like Return of the Jedi and what was Indiana Jones out at that time? Movies from 1982. Let's see. The Tron. I was definitely into Tron. The new one, not so much. Dark Crystal. Yeah. E.T. Fuck yeah. Beastmaster. They showed boobies. I loved it. It was crazy. Poltergeist. Nope. Don't like that. I saw that one. Don't like it. Yeah. I mean, these were like the big things, but for some reason, I thought I was way older when He-Man came out, but it says it came out in 1982. And it also amazes me how many of these things I saw, back in the day that I probably shouldn't have seen any of these, like Beastmaster. Shouldn't have seen that. Poltergeist, unfortunately, my mom took me to see that, but you've heard about that in another episode. So with that, let's move on to UFOs for 1 second. Oh, I got to say, don't be surprised if I kind of like bounce around back and forth in this episode. This outline was anarchy. By the time I really kind of got it down to what I wanted to throw into this episode, this next UFO report is very brief. It is like a 2-line report to MUFON. No other info is out there, but it was worth putting into this episode, and you'll hear why in just a second. For this one, we go back to October 10th, 1969 at 7 p.m. when Ivan McDonald is driving on Aylwin Road, 1 mile east of Casabazua, Quebec. And I'm sure I got that wrong. Sorry, Canadians. When he spots a white cone-shaped object above his car. It's at about 8 feet in diameter, about 200 feet above the ground, and it seems... hold on. My outline's doing it all wonky again. It seems to have a flag with a skull and crossbones insignia on the back of it. That's right, a pirate ship UFO, a Jolly Roger UFO. And he says it moved away at terrific speeds, soundlessly, and that's it. That's all I can ever find about a UFO that was flying a pirate flag. Nothing about, was this guy high as fuck? It was 1969. Maybe that was all it was. I don't know what was going on in Canada at that time, but, you know, it seems like something weird was going on because, again, absolutely nothing more about it. Here, let me get you the actual full report because I made sure I took a screenshot of the full report. UFO flying the Jolly Roger in Casabazua, Quebec. Love Quebec. Ivan McDonnell said he was driving on Aylwin Road about a mile west of here at 7 p.m. on October 10th, 1969, when he spotted an object above his car. It sported the Jolly Roger. He described the UFO as about 8 feet in diameter, cone-shaped, and about 200 feet above the ground. It was mostly white in color, he said. It had sort of a skeleton figure on the side, and I could make out some sort of skull and crossbones. It was reportedly flying east at a terrific speed and making no sound. The UFO was not seen by anyone else. UFOs have been seen landing, pulsating, humming, and buzzing in at least 3 area towns since July. None have displayed hostile tactics or the Jolly Roger. The hell, man? This guy saw a pirate UFO, and that's all that we have from the pirate UFO from Canada? That's weird, right? But let's stick with weird crap in the sky for a second. And let's talk about Atlas 3I. But first, another commercial before we get to Atlas 3I. What's coming to us currently? What's in the sky and moving towards us and scaring a bunch of people? Let's talk about that in just 1 second after this commercial.
Meet BJ and his partner, the Bear, a couple of fun-loving truckers who will haul anything for $1.50 a mile. But when the evil Sheriff Lobo shows up, it's freewheeling and anything goes. Then an ex-con seeks revenge. Rockford. The Rockford Files moves to a new night with a 90-minute special, Saturday following BJ and the Bear.
I don't know if you guys know what the hell BJ and the Bear was. In the 70s, for some unknown reason, everybody was into truckers and not walkie-talkies, CB radios. You know, like there's a song called Convoy. Everybody was into truckers and CB radios, and they made a show with Greg Evigan, who went on to do My Two Dads and a bunch of other stuff. Great, cool. Always was a fan of Greg Evigan as a kid. No idea why. But it was him and a chimpanzee in a red and white 18-wheeler. And for some reason, I watched the shit out of that show. But anyhow, we're back. Let's talk about Atlas 3I. The 3I Atlas is changing direction or trajectory every 4 hours. Well, that isn't true. There are a shit ton of websites that are reporting about Atlas 3I and giving absolute nonsense and showing stupid AI photos. I'll get to those in a second, but no. It is not changing trajectory every 4 hours. It's rotating, but not even every 4 hours. There are 2 scientific studies by 2 separate scientists, and both say it is rotating every 16 hours. They found a repeating 4-hour pattern, which sounds, spooky, but when you get down to it, it's just how light and dark, sunlight and not sunlight, that's causing it to rotate. And they say it is a very common thing that comets do. They rotate. Most comets spin every few hours to a day or so, and as they rotate, sunlight hits different angles, making their brightness flicker and their position wobble slightly, but it is not changing trajectory the way that a lot of websites are making it seem right now. A lot of people are saying that Atlas 3I is course correcting on its way to Earth. That's not true. It's just not true. They're showing photos of Atlas AI that make it look like a rocket or a missile or a flat UFO or a very thin metal, like almost like knife-like thing, like, slicing through the space. No. No clear photos have been taken of it. We have telescopic photos that have been taken of it, but it's just a blur. And people are going, well, why is it glowing at the front and the back? Comets don't do that. Stop it, people. Yes, it does. People are saying that they actually shut down the American government, the U.S. government right now, so that we couldn't track this obvious UFO. Curt here, you people realize there are telescopes around the world, right? It's not just NASA. So let's do a couple of paranormal news about Atlas 3I. The first one is a questionable one. You ready for the first one? Let's go to the questionable one first. It says, astronomer. Good Lord, Curt. It's only 2 hours into this episode. Astronomer, 30+% probability interstellar object is an alien craft disguised as a comet. That's right. I'm going to read that whole thing again because I butchered the shit out of it. Astronomer, 30+% probability interstellar object is an alien craft disguised as a comet. As far as I know, there are no protocols for responding to the discovery of functioning alien devices near Earth. Despite an abundance of data suggesting that interstellar object 3I Atlas, the third object ever detected ripping through our solar system, is simply a comet, Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, come on, Curt, still hasn't shaken the suspicion that something feels off about this lump of ice and carbon dioxide. Okay, well, you're going to find out what it's made of in the scientific one that's going to read to you in just a minute, but let's keep going. Avi Loeb has posited there's a chance that it is a piece of technology sent to us by an intelligent extraterrestrial civilization, and he is not letting up at all. He said that its unusual, highly unusual trajectory, which had already brought it suspiciously close to Mars last week, as well as its enormous suspected mass, measuring at over 33 billion tons, makes it orders of magnitude larger than two previously recorded interstellar objects, shown to have highly unusual chemical composition and sport a puzzling anti-tail pointing in the direction of the sun. Now, in a Q&A posted to his personal blog, Loeb is willing to put a number behind his suspicion. He says, as of now, I assign a 30 to 40% likelihood that 3I Atlas does not have a fully natural origin. This low probability scenario includes the possibility of a black swan event akin to a Trojan horse, where a technological object masquerades as a natural comet. Okay, just say Trojan horse. Why are you throwing black swan in there? Isn't that Natalie Portman movie? What are you talking about? However, he concedes that data from the European Space Agency's JUICE spacecraft, which is expected to make a close approach of 3I Atlas next month, and NASA's Juno spacecraft, which will be close to 3I Atlas when it whips past Jupiter in March, could cause his probability rankings to evolve. The data could shed new light on how it's affected by the sun. How old is this fucking article? It was just done in October. What are you talking about in March? What are you talking about? Let's see. I'm going to continue on. As far as I know, there are no protocols for responding to the discovery of functioning alien devices near Earth. The situation is different from detecting radio signals from a source located thousands of light years away. A visitor in our backyard requires immediate attention because it could enter through the front door and pose an imminent threat. Well, if it's a visitor in our backyard, how is it going to enter through the front door? Just throwing that out there, Avi. All right, here's the Science-y article that I wanted to read to you. Again, that was just released this week. Published yesterday, Professor Brian Cox explains what he finds remarkable about 3I Atlas. We already know about where it came from. It's been tracking it, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. The professor of particle physics in the School of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Manchester and former keyboard player for the dance act D. Ream. Why'd you have to throw that in there? Just say he's the professor of particle physics in the School of Physics and Astronomy. I don't care what the keyboard player for the dance act D. Ream does. Explains why he finds the object and humanity's reaction to it remarkable. There's an estimate a couple days ago that it might have formed 7.5 billion years ago. So it was made before the Earth and the sun had formed out of a cloud of dust, and it's been on its journey across the Milky Way galaxy. And the thing I find remarkable is it's only 400 years ago that we were arguing about whether Earth went around the sun. Now we sent spacecraft to the planets and blah, blah, blah. So to me, it's a remarkable story. Get to the point of this article. Here we go. While we agree that we should point out that it is hard to capture legitimate photos and images of 3I Atlas, it is not yet, these photos have not been confirmed by NASA nor released to the public. Nonetheless, because of this, there is a lot of speculation about this cosmic event. What's this stuff? Wait, where's the bulk of this article? Is that it, really? He says, wait till it goes by Jupiter before we get an actual clear view of the object. And it doesn't really, there's not much more to it. It was supposed to be more sciencey than that. There's an article about 3I Atlas that breaks down its composition, and it is insanely cool, the composition. Here we go. Let's try this one. I might have just copied the wrong article. Why is they not talking about the composition? It's like something like an insane amount of nickel in it, and which is very odd for the comet. How big it is. It is the largest one, way bigger than Oumuamua. They said that it is releasing water like a fire hose. Here we go. At full blast. But again, that's because of the way that it's hitting the side of the sun. So it would blast out. And then when it rotates, it cools off and continues to blast off and cool off, water releasing. They said that it seems to be losing water at roughly 40 kilograms per second. It is definitely a comet. They're all saying that. Where's the composition of it? Nickel, here we go. 3I Atlas, citing observations made by the Keck Observatory in Hawaii. They're showing that it is a nickel composition, but no evidence of iron. And that is an anomaly. He says the anomaly was only known to exist in industrially produced nickel alloys. The emissions by the surrounding gases plume have a huge radius of 600 kilometers for nickel, 840 kilometers for cyanide. The production rate of the nickel relative to cyanide is higher than in 2I Borisov and order of magnitudes above the solar system's comet medium. So it is an odd anomaly, but it is not a iron knife ripping through space. Do I think Atlas 3I is a UFO coming to finish the job Oumuamua started? No, but I wish it was. It will be closest to the sun around October 30th, 2025. So maybe it'll carve into the sun for Halloween like a giant jack-o'-lantern. Look, I can throw a lot of crap out there. Unfortunately, with ChatGPT and AI, people are cruising through photos of Atlas that just aren't even remotely true. And sadly, every time, not almost every time, people are like, holy crap, is that really what it looks like? It looks like a giant rocket cutting through space. We're doomed. No, everyone relax. When you see a photo that's too good to be true, take a step back. Speaking of AI and weird paranormal stuff, it will be almost impossible to say that a photo of Bigfoot is real moving forward, or of a UFO is real moving forward, or of an alien, or of a cryptid, or of an insert ghost, whatever insert paranormal thing you want here. Moving forward, it'll be virtually impossible for us to know if it is AI created or if it is a real photo. It's getting that good, that quickly, that scarily, that we're pretty much screwed. There are photos online on Reddit daily of dead alien bodies that are It's still not there perfect enough so you can tell that they're Chat GPT or AI created, but every day it's getting better and better, and every day it's getting harder and harder. We are going to be fooled very quickly. It is said that with the amount of episodes that I have done personally, if I upload them into an AI program, that an AI program could give you an infinite number of Paranormal Almanac episodes that will be virtually indistinguishable from me doing this one real right now. There's enough of my voice and my cadence and how I fuck up the names of towns that it could do it for you. And you could have your own virtual Curt, but please, for the love of God, the real Curt is bad enough. You don't need a virtual Curt. All right, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
How would you explain it? A woman in Wisconsin is doing the dishes when suddenly she's possessed by a terrifying feeling. She's positive that her young daughter has just been in an accident. She quickly makes a desperate phone call, only to learn that her feeling was true. How would you explain this? A dozen people around the world who never met each other describe an encounter with a being from space, and their descriptions of the creature match almost exactly. And how do you explain this? A man's heart stops beating in a hospital, and he sees a blinding light that doesn't frighten him, but fills him with an indescribable feeling of peace. And how can you explain the growing number of people who feel that they've had a brush with something beyond our everyday understanding? Maybe no one can fully explain these things, but they can no longer be ignored. That's why Time Life takes a serious look into this world with a remarkable new series, Mysteries of the Unknown, to provide an objective and comprehensive look at what may lie beyond our ordinary reality. How can you explain this? 4 men are drawn to an ancient Anglo-Saxon fort, site of a fierce battle. They enter the shadows of a ring of trees, and without warning, one of them is grabbed by an unseen force, lifted 5 feet in the air, and suspended for 30 full seconds. There are so many hints of a world more remarkable than we ever imagined, and of abilities that we barely suspect.
Mommy, all I could think of was you. I know.
Send for your first volume on a free trial basis and see if you can explain these things away.
To order your first book, Mystic Places, call 1-800-548.
Nope, I'm not going to give you that phone number because, again, it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, those books came out in 1989. Absolutely incredible. I love Mysteries of the Unknown. I only have 2 editions. I was just looking right now. I have the UFO Phenomena and Mysterious Creatures, but I do one day have to get the full collection of books. You can find them still on eBay fairly cheaply. Yeah, man, I remember these commercials. And again, from 1989, it sparked again. I was already way, way, way into this stuff already, but I was like, oh, man, I got to buy those books. That's freaking awesome. I got to buy those books. Alrighty, with that, let's go to Weird Deaths. Time Life books, man. I love those freaking books. They were pretty quality, too, I got to say. I've looked through pretty much all of the Mysteries of the Universe. My friend's dad bought them all, so I got to look at them back in the day, and I've seen them since, but they're pretty fucking cool. Anyhow, let's get to Weird Deaths. For this first one, let's go back to August 7th, 1958. Her name was Amelia Newcomb, age 22. She spontaneously combusted while dancing at a party. She was reduced to a small pile of ash after a brief, intense flare with only her shoes remaining, slightly scorched. Again, not a lot that I can find confirming this story is real, so grain of salt, that one. But how weird, not weird enough for you, but how weird about this one? I have another Newcomb. Remember, her name was Amelia Newcomb. I have another Newcomb dying by almost the exact same way. So this first one was Amelia Newcomb, August 7th, 1958. This second one, we go back to August 27th, 1938. So almost 20 years to the day, when 22-year-old Phyllis Newcomb, with an E now at the end of Newcomb, was leaving a dance when her dress suddenly caught on fire with blue flames for, quote, no apparent reason. Witnesses say there were no open flames nearby. The flames rapidly spread upwards, and she was covered in flames in a matter of seconds, but She survived. She lived despite having some severe burns. They managed to throw their coats on her and kind of put her out. Other dancers, that is. They smothered her. She lived a fairly, quote, fairly satisfactory condition until dying on September 15th due to the infected wounds. So she didn't spontaneously combust to death, but that's only because of how quickly someone's reacted right then and there. Now, again, I couldn't find more to this story. Every website I could find that mentioned this one had virtually the exact same wording every time, which, again, is usually a grain of salt for me or a red flag for me. But it does seem that it happened, and it does seem like she finally succumbed to her death. But back in the day, especially probably in the 30s, even more than the 50s, I guarantee you that right outside of a dance, people were smoking. And whatever the hell she was wearing was probably very flammable and probably went up really quickly. There are a lot of true known stories of, there was one I did a while ago about an actress. I can't think of her name. She was in the back of like a limo or a big town car for a scene, and a little cigarette ash sparked her up, and they had to put her out like really freaking quick. And again, you know, she was burnt like crazy because, again, of how flammable everything was back in the day. So I don't discount these ones. The red flags weren't big enough for me to go, that's not true. I think those are real. This next one is weird, and there are death things in it. We go all the way back to 2015 to Auburn, Pennsylvania. Auburn, Pennsylvania, 2015. The Brett Zewis family. You're going to see why I said there's death things involved in it in just a second. Don't worry. If you're like, well, that was the weirdest description ever, Kurt. Well, I'm trying to be vague for a second. I don't want to spoil it too quick right away. You'll find out in a second. The Brett Zewis family moved into their home and decided to fix things up, starting with new insulation. So they call in a contractor who rips open the walls to find, all right, quick, everyone take a guess. Here we go. All right, so they call in a contractor for new insulation, rips open the walls to find take a guess. I want you to guess now. I'm not going to start I'm not going to continue until you guess. All right. You ready? I don't know how to turn this sound effect off. There we go. They found dozens of dead animal carcasses wrapped in newspapers from the 30s and 40s. That's right. They found them stacked up in the walls. So they send the carcasses that seem to be covered in weird stuff wrapped in these newspapers to, quote, an expert in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, which led me to two questions. One, how do you find an expert in dead animal carcasses wrapped in newspapers in the walls of your house? And two, did they notify him before sending him dozens of dead animals wrapped in old newspapers? These questions and many more will not be answered right now. So the expert, after I can only assume calling his mom to say, see, people do need me to tell them why dead animals are wrapped in old newspapers and shoved in walls, Mom. He attributed the rotting animals in their walls to powwow, or Dutch magic, which is a ritual originating in the culture of the Pennsylvania Dutch to treat ailments and gain physical and spiritual protection. So down that rabbit hole I go. Yes, it's called powwow. Yes, they kind of just took that name from Native Americans, but it is Dutch magic. So here are some more powwow magic. Many of these spells, were handed down by a German immigrant named Johann Georg Hohmann, who wrote a book of incantations and prayers entitled Long Lost Friend. Kurt here. I am desperately now searching, and have been since I stumbled upon this, doing the research for this episode, for a vintage copy. You can find a new copy of Long Lost Friends and a new German copy of Long Lost Friends, but I want to try and find, without spending thousands because I don't have any money, but I'm going to try and find maybe an estate sale or something, a vintage edition of Long Lost Friends, because it seems very funky. You'll hear about it in a second, which he said This book should be used in times of sickness and distress. He even went so far as to say that anyone who carried the book would be protected from mishap. So there's a reason for me to get the book right there. I can carry it around with me and boom, no more mishap. So here are a bunch of spells. I'm not going to read them all to you. You really got to buy the book. But I'm going to read some of the spells that are in this book. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up real quick. All righty. Again, written by a Pennsylvania Dutch healer in the 1820s. They say this book is a rambling collection of rural home remedies and folk invocations. Powwow is a unique creole of Christian theology and a shamanistic belief system. It is still practiced in some rural areas of Pennsylvania. In spite of the name, it is not of Native American derivation. It is believed to have been brought over to America by German immigrants who practice folk magic. This little book concludes healing spells, binding spells, protective spells, talismans, wards, and benedictions. As for the home remedies, we don't recommend you try any of them. Oh, let me do that like they would at the end of an infomercial. As for the house remedies, we don't recommend you try any of them. E.g., if you have a scurvy, we suggest that you get some limes, and if your livestock are sick, please have a veterinarian look at them. The text is also of historical interest and is paint a vivid picture of the miseries of rural American life in the early 19th centuries. This original is very rare. Okay, so with that said, there is spells on hysterics and colds, bleeding. Actually, you know what? Let me click on the bleeding one. What happens if you're bleeding? A certain remedy to stop bleeding, which cures no matter how far a person be away, if only his first name is rightly pronounced while using it. This is what you say if anybody is bleeding and you hear about it. Like if someone calls you and goes, "Oh my God, Curt, I'm bleeding." I can just go, this is what I got to say. "Jesus Christ, dearest blood, that stoppeth the pain and stoppeth the blood. In this help you, then you say the person's first name, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, Amen." It doesn't really rhyme, but apparently that's all it takes to stop bleeding, or at least stop them from complaining about bleeding. How about epilepsy? A remedy for epilepsy, provided the subject has never fallen into a fire or water. Now, that's important, people. If they've fallen into fire, epilepsy is the least of their worries, because they're on fire. But here's what you do if someone's got epilepsy and they have not fallen into fire or water in their entire life. Write reversedly or backwards upon a piece of paper, "It is all over!" exclamation point. This is to be written but once upon the paper. Backwards, remember. Then put it in a scarlet red cloth and then wrap it in a piece of unbleached linen and hang it around the neck on the first Friday of the new moon. Hold on, there's more. Friday of the new moon. The thread with which it is tied must also be unbleached. So that's what you do if someone's got epilepsy and they've never fallen into fire or water. In the case of a fire, how about this one? In the case of a fire and there's no water nearby, what do? I don't know. Something's on fire. Well, let me tell you. The person is instructed to write a series of words on the front and back of a plate, then throw the plate into the fire, reciting a certain incantation before appearing before a... I'm moving on to another one. Sorry, it's jumbled. All right, so if there's a fire, all you got to do is write a series of words, but it doesn't say what words. Seems like that's important. Seems like you're missing a step. That's why I got to get an original copy so I can tell you what the original thing says. Then throw the plate into the fire, and apparently it's supposed to put the fire out. Okay. And what about if you have to go before a judge? Well, recite a certain incantation before appearing to a judge to receive a favorable verdict, or breathe upon someone and recite the Our Father 3 times in order to stop them from bleeding. Okay, you got a focus, book. What are we talking about? Are we talking about a judge? Or are we talking about someone's bleeding and you just walk up and creepily, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be their name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven." That's only going to freak these fucking people out that are already bleeding. Give them a break. How about this one? To attach a dog to a person, provided nothing else was used before to affect the dog. So you can't throw it food. Nope. If you see a dog and you're like, "I want that dog," try to draw some of your blood and let the dog eat it along with his food, and he will stay with you. Or scrape the four corners of your table while you are eating and continue to eat with the same knife after having scraped the four corners of the table. Let the dog eat those scrapings, and he will stay with you. I don't know if you should really, feed a dog blood and hope it stays with you. I mean, it seems like you're going to get a blood-hungry dog. But, all right, here's a good one. How to obtain things which are desired. Oh, this is perfect. I need this one. If you call upon another to ask for a favor, take care to carry a little of the five-fingered grass with you, and you shall certainly obtain that you desire. Okay, what the fuck is five-fingered grass? Hold on, people. Fuck is five-fingered grass? Five-fingered grass, also known as cinquefoil, that's cinque foil. Cinquefoil is a highly adaptable herb that has a rich tradition of being utilized in folklore and mysticism. This herb is reputed to attract favorable circumstances, abundance, and safety, which makes it a favored component in various spells and ceremonies. By introducing the energy of five-fingered grass into your spiritual repertoire, you can reap the benefits of its potent magic. Okay, that makes way more sense than, of course, I thought it was weed. Because, of course, if you bring weed everywhere you go, you're going to have a bunch of people that are going to want to be friends with you because you have all the weed. Five-fingered grass. Didn't know about it. There you go. Oh, how about this one? What do you do if you have a broken glass? This is very important because I just broke a glass yesterday. I've cleaned it up, so this might not be, I might have waited too long, but let's find out together. Take common cheese and wash it well. Unslacked lime and the whites of eggs. Rub all these together until it becomes one mass, and then use it. If it is made right, the glass will certainly hold. Okay, so I think what they're saying is I got to get some cheese, wash it. Unslaked lime, don't know what that is. I'm just assuming I got limes. I have a tiki bar, I got limes. And the whites of eggs. You're going to rub all those together until it becomes one big, like, Play-Doh thing. Sure. And then you're going to use the Play-Doh to fix the broken glass. If it's made right, it'll certainly hold. So, yeah, of course, when it falls apart, they're going to be like, that Johann guy's going to be like, see, you didn't do it right. Here we go. How to cause a male or female thieves to stand still without being able to move backwards or forwards. There we go. If someone's trying to rob you. In using any prescriptions of this book and regarding to make others stand still, it is best to be walking about and repeat the following 3 times. O Peter, borrow the power from God. What I shall bind with the bands of a Christian hand shall be bound. All male and female thieves, be they great or small, young or old, shall be spellbound by the power of God, and not being able to walk forward or backward. Hold on. Until I see them with my eyes and give them leave with my tongue, except that it be that they count for me all the stones that may be between heaven and earth, all the raindrops, all the leaves in this world, and all the grass in this world. This I pray for the repentance of my enemies. Wow, you got to memorize that. There's a lot. You got to get this book because I didn't say it right. But apparently, if you say that 3 times, a thief that just stole something from you will freeze, kind of like like Zach Morris when he froze people in Saved by the Bell. That's what we're talking about. So you can have some fun with that one. I'm not saying it's appropriate fun, but fun nonetheless. Sure. Incontinence. All right. Here's a good remedy for those that cannot keep their water. Burn a hog's bladder to powder and take it inwardly. Gross. All right. How about this one? To prevent witches from bewitching cattle. Okay. You have to write this and place it in the stable. Where the cattle are. I get what they're saying. Ooh, it's kind of long. Trotterhead, I forbid thee my house and premises. I forbid thee my horse and my cow stable. Ooh, this keeps going on and on and on. It's a very long one. But again, if you have a witch that's stealing your cattle, write to me at paranormalalmanac@gmail.com, and I will send you the thing that you need to write down and place in your stable. How about this one? Win every game one engages in. That's what we're talking about. I'm going to win the lotto with this one. All you have to do, people, tie the heart of a bat with a red silken string to the right arm, and you will win every game at cards you play. Oh, it's cards. I'll be honest. I've tried this one before. I've tied the heart of a bat with a red silken string to my right arm when playing cards, and nothing. I never won. You know what? I was actually kicked out of a casino in Vegas because they were like, "Excuse me, sir, you seem to have the heart of a bat like just bleeding down your right arm. Can you please leave?" So that one doesn't work. Don't do that one. Gunshot. Here we go. If you're shot by someone, do this while you're bleeding out. Oh, easily. All right. The heavenly and holy trumpet blow every ball and misfortune away from... Oh, you have to say this. Okay, focus on this while you're bleeding out. The heavenly and holy trumpet blow every ball and misfortune away from me. I seek refuge beneath the tree of life, which bears 12-fold fruit. I stand behind the holy altar of the Christian church. I commend myself to the Holy Trinity. I, Curt, hide myself beneath the holy corpse of Jesus Christ. I commend myself, you don't want to say Curt, you want to say your own name. I commend myself under the wounds of Jesus Christ, that the hand of no man might be able to seize me or to bind me or to cut me or to throw me or to beat me or to overcome me in any way so whatsoever, so help me. Whew. Again, if you are shot and you're bleeding out and you can remember to say all that, it might help you. I mean, who am I to say no? Ooh, here's one that just says peaches. Let's read this one because I like peaches. Millions of peaches. Peaches for me. Peaches. The flower of the peach tree, prepared like salad, opens the bowels and is of use in the dropsy. The fuck is I mean, I think I know what dropsy is, but let's find out what the fuck is dropsy? Dropsy, also known as edema, is a conditionally characterized but excessive fluid accumulation of the body's tissue. That is not what I thought they meant by dropsy, but sure. The flowers of the peach tree, prepared like salad, opens the bowels, gross, and is of use in dropsy. Okay, there's more to peaches, though. 6 or 7 peeled kernels of the peach stone eaten daily will ease the gravel. I don't know what gravel is. I'm not going to look it up. I'm assuming it's some form of kidney stone. They are also said to prevent drunkenness, when eaten before meals. So all I got to do is eat 6 or 7 peach pits before a meal and then drink a lot at the tiki bar, and apparently I won't get drunk. Interesting. Whoever loses his hair should pound up peach kernels, mix them with vinegar, and put them on the bald place. Oh, hold on. There's somebody at my door. Oof. Sorry, I forgot I ordered groceries and they were just delivered. So I had to quickly unload the groceries. All right, now I'm out of breath. Where was I? Something about dropsy? Oh, yeah, no. I was talking about hair loss with, rubbing a bunch of peach pits on your head. Here's more from peaches. The water distilled from peach flowers opens the bowels of infants and destroys their worms. Okay, wish I hadn't read that one titled Peaches. So there you go. That's just some of the powwow out there. But seriously, that dead animals wrapped in newspapers expert, he's a serial killer, right? Right? Like, why else? This wasn't the 1900s, the 1800s. It was the 1900s, like 1990s or something. But this wasn't the olden days, is what I'm saying. When did these people move into their freaking home? No, it was 2015. So you're telling me in 2015 you can make a living being an expert in dead animals wrapped in newspapers? That dude's 100% a serial killer. Oh, fun fact before I wrap that one up. What happened to the family who lived in that house? Well, fun times. The mold found on the rotting carcasses in the Britzius' home has caused illness among the family members. And they say that the odor still hasn't gone away. That was 2015. That was 10 years ago. Fun. I want to visit them for Thanksgiving. All right, let's take a quick commercial break so I can catch my breath after quickly unpacking my groceries.
You know, the weirdest things happened to me, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I mean, here I am stocking up for Halloween. I got my steaks, got my ribs. Then when I asked the stock boy where the Coors Light is stacked, he points me to the Coors and Coors Light Halloween display, and I'm on it. Whoa, it was like deja vu. Whoa, it was like deja vu. Look for it where you buy beer. I shop here because they slash prices. There goes another one. Happy Halloween, darling.
Oh, that one was appropriate. It's a Halloween commercial with Elvira, who's still, to this day, the most gorgeous woman ever. Here's a fun, besides Anna Kendrick, but you know what I mean. Here's a fun, weird one. Here's a weird way to die story from January 3rd, 1961. During the testing of an experimental nuclear reactor designed in Arco, Idaho, 2 soldiers and a sailor were killed, but their deaths were not due to radiation poisoning. While trying to bring the reactor online, Burns, an Army specialist, was supposed to pull the control rod part way out. That's important, part way out by hand. But he pulled the rod further than intended. The reactor instantly went prompt critical, which flash boiled the water around the reactor. This force of steam expanded, lifting the entire reactor about 9 feet into the air, in what was described as a water hammer-like effect. Sure. Many components were thrown out the top, one of which impaled a guy named Legg, who was a Navy electrician's mate, lifted him from the catwalk and penetrated the ceiling, leaving him dangling from the ceiling through this component that went through his leg. Or not through his leg, his name was Legg. That was a component that went through him, the middle of him. While the reactor was airborne, the radioactive steam escaped, which sprayed the entire room. The steam was so hot that Burns instantly died of severe thermal burns. The other man, McKinley, suffered a head wound from which he died later that day. The steam left the bodies of all 3 men radioactive, so they were buried in lead-lined coffins. The 3 remained the only human beings killed by a reactor explosion in the United States up to this point. Oof, that's a crazy, weird, fun one, but I'm still out of breath. So let me throw another commercial in here real quick. I apologize.
Artu? Where are you? Artu? Artu? Artu, you're on fire! R2-D2, you found a cigarette. Well, I don't think smoking is grown up at all. Because it's very dangerous. Smoking does dreadful things to your lungs and is very bad for your heart. Well, I know I don't have one, but humans do, and I think we should set a good example. Well done, R2. Oh, hello. You know smoking is bad for your health, and it isn't grown up at all. So please, don't smoke. R2, do you really think I don't have a heart?
Oh, how cool was that? Finally, for this section, remember, weird ways people died. Let's talk about a group of hikers that all died mysteriously. I wanted to make sure I had full breath for this one because, oh, by the way, I'm not talking about the Dyatlov Pass. No. I'm talking about another group of hikers that all died mysteriously. It is called the Kamar Daban incident, but it is known as Burasha's Dyatlov Pass, the Kamar Daban incident. We go back to August 1993, when 7 hikers, 4 women, 3 men, set out to traverse the Kamar Daban mountain range in Burasha, which is in eastern Siberia. If I'm butchering those, and I probably am, I apologize. Anyhow, this mountain range was a very popular tourist destination. The group was led by an expert hiker named Ludmila Korovina. Now, they were able to climb to the top of the mountain without any incident. But as the group descended, well, the weather took a turn from the worse, and their lives took a turn for the worse. They were caught in heavy rainfall on August 4th. They were unable to light a campfire in their conditions, but they camped out for the night there. They figured if the rain falls too hard, there's too much mudslide, too much rain, let's just camp here even though we can't make a campfire. The following day, they were supposed to meet another group of hikers, which included some of that group's relatives at another location. But they didn't show up. Now, this second group, which included Ludmila's daughter, Natalia, they continued down the mountain, thinking that the first group simply was delayed by the rain and whatnot and wet equipment. But later, as that group were kayaking down the river at the bottom of the mountains, a group of tourists spotted a lone woman standing and staring at them, coated in dry blood. Which is like the last thing you want to see while kayaking. A woman coated in dried blood, it's pretty much the last thing. You maybe like an alligator or some kind of big cryptid about to eat you would be worse, or a shark trying to eat you while you're kayaking, but a close second is a woman alone standing and staring at you while coated in dried blood. So they stop their kayaks because they're braver than I am. I would have kayaked faster than I have ever kayaked in my life and gotten the fuck away from this lone woman coated in dried blood. But they're better people than me. They stop. They go to assist this woman. The woman, her name was Valentina Yutochenko. She later told the group and later the police that she had been part of the group that was descending the mountains. And yep, spoiler, she's the only survivor. According to reports, she was unable to fill anyone in on the details for a few days because of shock. They finally get her, to calm down and come around, and she started talking about what happened to those hikers, and it's fucking weird. According to her, they'd begun to descend the mountain when Alexander Sasha Krisin began to scream from the back of the group. Yudochenko claimed that Krisin was both frothing at the mouth and bleeding from his eyes and ears. Again, not something you want to do while hiking. After a few moments, Alexander, again, frothing from the mouth and bleeding from his eyes and ears, collapses to the ground and convulses before, quote, finally going still. Some people call that dying, but she says finally going still. One member told the group to go on as they attempted to look after Alexander. But soon after, they heard her screams. So the whole group, who went on for some fucking reason, returned to find her, yep, you guessed it, frothing at the mouth and bleeding from her eyes and ears. After that, another member of the hiking party began clutching her own throat as if she couldn't breathe before moving over to a rock and repeatedly bashing her head against it until she too was motionless. See? Weird. Told you. One by one, the group members began bleeding and clutching at their throats before collapsing and falling to the ground. All except for Yudochenko, which I can't find her first name right here. What was her first name? Oh, Valentina. All except for Valentina. She continued down the mountains, set up camp for the night. That had to be the most terrifying night of her life. How you didn't just continue on in the dark, I don't care if you couldn't see. You continue hiking until you find somebody or just fall off a fucking mountain. But she camped for the night before returning to her group the following day and finding them all exactly where they had collapsed. Again, still, Curt here, dead. She then set down the mountain again in attempt to find rescue where, she was seen by those kayakers. The kayakers say There was a girl standing on the shore screaming and waving her arms so desperately that we immediately realized something was wrong. She was covered in blood. Yeah, that's a good clue. This is according to Alexander, who told the Russian police after the fact. When we got to the shore, she threw herself at one of us. Hold on. At one of our... My outline's doing it again. One of our participants, and cried on her chest for a long time. She was incoherently telling us that people had died and how scared she was before she went into shock. Yep, there we go. It wasn't until August 24th, which I think is like 20 days later, that a search party for the group began, and they were found 2 days later after that. The clothes and backpacks were bright. The group was lying on a clear slope, 200 to 250 meters, straight, not vertically, below the mountain range, towards the Snezhnaya River Basin. One of the rescuers, Alexei Levinsky, said there were also 200 to 300 meters left to the edge of the forest. I don't remember birds singing or flying, not even crows, at the place of death. It was very well ventilated. The bodies were partially mummified. There wasn't even a putrid smell. So they get them all down. Autopsy time. The autopsy report suggested that several of the groups died of hypothermia. But get this. Experts at that time say it was not cold enough for hypothermia to have set in. So already, red flag 1. All of the dead hikers were found to have signs of bruised lungs. The autopsy carried out concluded that Krysin, Filipenko, Bapanov, Valasova, and Shavashkin died of hypothermia, but again, it was not cold enough for that to have happened. And Korovina died of a heart attack. They also found protein deficiency due to malnutrition, and it listed as a contributing factor to their death. I'm thinking that protein deficiency was the least of their worries. Look, I'm literally drinking a protein shake as I'm doing this, but I have a feeling had I not had this protein shake, I would not have started bleeding from my eyes and ears and frothing at the mouth. I'm just guessing. Anyhow, let's get to some theories. So the autopsy came through, did not help anybody in any way, shape, or form because it was not conclusive. It didn't line up to the frothing at the mouth and bleeding of the eyes and ears. And they did note that they, yes, were bleeding at the eyes and ears. And again, they said that they all had signs of bruised lungs. One theory suggests that the hikers might have stumbled upon a Russian military experiment conducted in the mountains. As such, they were killed so that experiment could remain a secret. Okay, it seems like they would have just been shot and never would have been none of that other stuff. The problem with that is the Kamar Daban Range is a public area with many people traveling. Like I said, it's a tourist destination. So, no, I'm going to call bullshit on that one. Another theory is infrasounds. This one seems more likely to me personally, or some kind of nerve agents is another theory because of the frothing of the mouth and convulsing is a nerve agent thing. And the bruising of the lungs could also be sign of death by nerve gas. So one of these two theories that are popular theories, in my opinion, are correct. That for some reason, now there's some people, like I went down this rabbit hole. Some people are saying that it could have been the mountains something happened naturally in the mountains that caused these infrasounds. I don't think that's true. I don't think that, if a mountain has a mudslide or whatever, that it's going to cause infrasounds so bad that it causes you to convulse and then bend over a rock and bash your head until you die. That sounds like a man-made infrasound to me, or a nerve agent. But again, I don't know what nerve agent would make you do that, bash your head until you die. I'm not up on my bash your head until you die nerve agents, so what do I know? Again, the leading theories, though, are either one of those two. It would cause respiratory distress. It could also cause a cardiac arrest, which would match that one guy, Korovina's cause of death. But here's another theory. Hold on. Another popular theory online is Mushroom poisoning. And there seems to be a little bit of logic to this one. Koravina, the one that died of a heart attack, was known to be a forager and lover of mushrooms. And she taught that, Koravina was a woman, I apologize. She taught that art to her student. So a leading theory is that one of the students who really didn't know what to pick for mushrooms, picked a mushroom that might have caused the hikers to hallucinate, get sick, and die of mushroom poisoning. Another theory is contaminated water, but that doesn't explain a lot of it. Sadly, they did not do any, in the autopsy, they didn't do any kind of chemical analysis on the blood or stomach contents. So, yeah, we might never, ever, ever, ever know what the hell happened. But you thought Dyatlov Pass was bad or a one-time thing? Well, think again, because this seems equally as bad. And I don't want to go to Dyatlov Pass, and I don't want to go to the Kamar Daban mountain range because it seems like nothing good will come of it. At best, I'm going to go on a very long hike that I'm not going to really love all that much, because my idea of hiking is there's a place called Runyon Canyon out here, and it's a very mild hike through the Hollywood Hills. The worst thing that has ever happened to me at Runyon Canyon was I stepped in some dog crap, which, yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't know how it compares to bleeding from the eyes and ears or frothing at the mouth. But, and then a little bit later, after I had stepped in dog crap, I walked past Justin Bieber, who, fun fact, his music makes me bleed from the eyes and ears and froth at the mouth. So maybe it was Justin. Yeah, it was probably Justin Bieber. I'm going to throw that one out there. It was Justin Bieber. All righty, we'll be right back after these messages.
This is crack, rock cocaine. It isn't glamorous or cool or kid stuff. It's the most addictive kind of cocaine, and it can kill you. What's really bad is nobody knows how much it takes. So every time you use it, you risk dying. It isn't worth it. Look, everybody wants to be cool, but doing it with crack isn't just wrong. It could be dead wrong.
Don't even try it. That's what it said. It says, don't even try it. There's a fun Pee Wee Herman crack cocaine commercial. That was fun, right? Well, not the commercial. I meant the canyon or the hiking that killed all those people. That was fun, right? Weird ways to die. All right. Well, how about this one? I wanted to do random facts that you can tell your family at the next holiday gathering as another palate cleanser. These are all weird but true. I know you won't believe me, but feel free to Google them. They are weird and they are true. I double-checked them. King Tutankhamun was embalmed with an erect mummified penis to combat a religious revolution unleashed by his father. True story. Dolphins have names for each other. I like that one. Scotland's national animal is the unicorn. That's cool too. Bananas are technically berries, and they're slightly radioactive. Again, fun facts you can tell your family at the next holiday gathering. The real name for the hashtag symbol is Octothorpe. So I need everybody to Octothorpe Paranormal Almanac 300th. You can even type out Octothorpe Paranormal Almanac 300th. Here's a fun fact. You're bioluminescent. That's right, you glow. But unfortunately, the light isn't perceptible to the human eye. Here's one that's really gross. The air that you breathe in a train station is made up of 15% human skin. Fun. How about this one? If you unwind a roll of Scotch tape fast enough, it can generate enough X-rays to image a human finger. You'd need to unwind the tape with a vacuum at 3 centimeters per second to generate that kind of power, but it can be done and has been done. Who thought of that one? I get that someone was like, I want to see how fast I can unroll a thing of Scotch tape. Yep, I get that. That seems like a stupid thing that I would do when I was really bored at a party or just on a Saturday. But who then thought, I bet if I unroll this fast enough, I can generate enough x-rays to image a human finger. That's weird. You thought that? That's weird. Oh, here's a fun one. Reindeer eyeballs turn blue in the winter to help them see at lower light levels. They're typically golden colored in the summer. No other mammal are known to have this ability. Here's a fun one. Wearing a tie, a necktie, can reduce blood flow to the brain by 7.5%. That is terrifying. I like wearing ties. I like, looking good in a suit and whatnot, but I always thought, feels like I'm being, choked by a very weak person. Turns out, no, I'm reducing blood flow to the brain by 7.5%. I don't have that to spare. Oh, here's a fun one. Chainsaws were first invented for childbirth. That's right. It was developed in Scotland in the late 18th century to help aid and speed up the process of symphysiotomy, which is widening the pubic cartilage and removal of disease-laden bone during childbirth. It wasn't until the 20th century that chainsaws were then used for wood chopping. Disgusting. Again, fun facts you can tell your family at the next Hollywood holiday gathering. Oh, deaf people are known to use sign language in their sleep. That's right. A case study of a 71-year-old man with rapid eye movement disorder and a severe hearing impairment showed him using fluent sign language in his sleep, with researchers able to get an idea of what he was dreaming about thanks to those sign languages. That's cool. Here's a fun one. It is possible for two lucid dreamers to communicate mid-dream. Interbrain neural synchronization has been observed between people who are both asleep in a scientific study. That's cool. You want to know what a rainbow on Venus is called? Well, it's called a glory. I don't know why. It just is. Here we go. You have a 50% chance of sharing a birthday with a friend. In any group of 23 people, 2 people will share a birthday according to the math. Okay, if you memorized most of these, that should make you the weirdest one at the next holiday, so you're welcome. Alrighty, we're at 3 hours, or just under 3 hours, when I edit out all of the nonsense that I have to edit out because of mistakes and whatnot. So let's wrap this one up really quickly. And I mean really quickly. I wanted it to be it's an entire episode, but unfortunately there's just not enough info to make it an entire episode, so I figured let's wrap up this episode with this. It's called the Hollywood Tower, and yes, it inspired Disney's Tower of Terror ride, but the real Hollywood Tower was opened in 1929 under the name The Belle Tour. It's a 56-unit apartment building. I guarantee you, if you look it up online, you have seen it in movies and TV. I've always wanted to ghost hunt it because, well, yeah, it's haunted. It is a very pretty-looking building. When it was built originally, it was a luxurious apartment building that catered to the wealthy. Nowadays, well, it's just really expensive apartments for anyone that can afford to live there. But residents have reported... Hold on, I want to get the end music started here. Residents have reported many ghost sightings. April Brooks, who was either a tenant or a manager of the Hollywood Tower, said, "There are many spirits here. A lot of people report the ghost of a man standing on the 7th floor in 30s period clothing, staring out at the Hollywood Hills. Then he disappears." All righty, that about does it for the part 2 of the 300th episode. I apologize. There probably won't be a part 3. This is going to wrap it up for the 300th because I got to get back to regular length editions so people can listen to them all, because apparently they're just a bit too long. Once again, thank you all so much. I'm so glad I was able to do the 300th episode and make it a long one. Once again, my name's Curt Saving. This has been Paranormal Almanac. I love you. He's so bad. Oh, sneeze.